on-air sports marketing presentation. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at arizonasports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
Now the D-backs are back at it as the Rockies are in town. Who are the winners and losers with the new NFL schedules? The Nuggets force a Game 7, and there's internal issues with the Suns. Welcome in, everybody. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B out here at Wright Toyota. Dan Manuch alongside Jackson Groff. We got Jamal Gumo back there at the studio, spinning all the records. Got a great Friday afternoon show planned for you. Speaking of the Nuggets, we're going to go to Denver and catch up with Brandon Cristal with Fox Sports, talk about that Game 7. Talking about the lowly I don't want to jinx the Diamondbacks here, Jax. The lowly minor league ball club that is the Colorado Rockies. I hope I didn't jinx them there.
Yeah, I hope you didn't jinx them that too.
Yeah, I hope
you never want to underestimate.
That's true.
There,
That's true. That's true. And then we're going to San Francisco at 2:30. Brandon at 1:30. 2:30. Greg Papa. He is the play-by-play voice for all you San Francisco 49er fans for the 49ers. Talk about what has been deemed the easiest schedule in the National Football League. We'll talk about the Warriors. They're going to break up the band there. How about the Giants? You know, the surprise of Major League Baseball. And then last but not least, he's one of our favorites at 3:30. James Jones, who's now a fine broadcaster on Fox Sports FS1. He'll talk about the winners and losers, I would say, of the draft, winners and losers of the schedule, and what he feels about the Cardinals without that home run hitting wide receiver that they currently don't have right now. So all that going on with Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B out here at Wright Toyota, where you won't go wrong. Jax, anything in particular stuck in your craw today? Kind of a soup of the day, soup du jour?
Yeah, we're both football guys. Looking back at the schedule of yesterday or 2 days ago, looking back and seeing all these different schedule release videos, I think is funny. I think people are starting to, come up with their predictions, and it's fun seeing what people think about the Arizona Cardinals. And I think, you're spot on yesterday talking about how they do have a tough back end of the schedule. And I think it's a year where, look at Kyler's stats. He doesn't have great stats in November and December. Some big boy ball games for the Arizona Cardinals. But it's funny enough, Manuch, I work side I have a side job at Grass Clippings, and
yes,
I actually met Denzel Burke yesterday, who was a sixth-round pick.
Did you?
Out of Ohio State.
Name dropper.
Got to talk to him a little bit. Great guy. He went to Saguaro High School, so got to connect with him a little bit about, Arizona high school football and Ohio State winning the national championship. And I told him, I was like, I don't know what you feel about this rookie class, but this feels special. And he felt the same way. And he felt like a guy that, was getting slid to the sixth round and didn't have a particularly it's outstanding year. The Oregon game was one to note there that he had a horrible game, but he said that back end of the season he improved and he faced the best of the best. But he talked about how the culture, he could just tell this year with Gannon and Austin Ford, even though he's been there for a couple of weeks, it feels like a college culture, which if you can have a college culture in the NFL, I think that's something long-term that they're starting to build. And I think the Arizona Cardinals are definitely in good hands with the rookie class they brought in, with the schedule they have in front of them to hopefully make some noise and potentially make the playoffs.
We're going to dive into a lot of that. By the way, Denzel Burke used to show up in the lab and as a young guy, and he started off at Brophy. You got to remember Denzel Burke. He started as a freshman at cornerback for the Brophy Broncos before he transferred over to Saguaro. So we'll get into a lot of that going on. The Phoenix Suns, little internal turmoil in the offseason moves, a few things going on. A current employee has filed a lawsuit against the team alleging discrimination, harassment, and retaliation after raising security concerns, including failed audits that reportedly allowed firearms in the arena amid these challenges. Now, think about that. If you got a whistleblower going on, then so be it. But allowing any kind of firearms to come into the arena, so I'm sure the National Basketball Association is going to investigate that. Kevin Durant was honored with the NBA's Magic Johnson Award for his professionalism and respectful interactions with media and fans, even as trade rumors swirled around him. And I got to tell you what, I thought KD was always up to the task, always able to talk and available to talk, really didn't hide it or skirt anything in particular. And I think that's what I commend him in reference. So I can see why he wins this Magic Johnson Award. And additionally, I don't know if you saw this, Jack. Devin Booker showcases versatility by hitting a home run during BP with the Tigers.
I did see this.
And they showed a clip on Channel 12 last night of him up, and he's up in Flagstaff, maybe a couple weeks ago, taking BP up there, getting ready for this. He took going yard out there, about 350. So what's he, 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", Book?
6'7". Yeah, he's got to be 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah.
It's honestly, I always find it so fascinating, NBA players, when they can do things like whether swing a bat or swing a golf club, because I know he golfs on the side a lot too, and he's a pretty damn good golfer. But to do that at that height, I think is impressive. And Devin Booker, a man of many talents, and with all the buzz surrounding, you mentioned the turmoil surrounding the Suns, and of course, with the Cardinals and all the allegations and lawsuits that happened with Bidwell last year, and now you got this with the Suns. All this stuff going around for the Phoenix Suns. Of course, with a busy offseason, this is on top of that. Just kind of makes sense if you want to, have a word that describes the offseason for the Phoenix Suns. Definitely one that's going to be busy, and this adding on to it doesn't help the situation.
Yeah, the controversial hiring of the general manager as well, too, adds to that. The Diamondbacks traded left-handed reliever Jose Castillo to the Mets for cash considerations. He's struggling in recent appearances, and he was designated for assignment earlier this week. He's really struggled. The D-backs, 23-21, begin that home series against the Rockies, who are 7-36 and trending to maybe be the worst team in Major League Baseball history. That'll be at Chase Field tonight. First pitch will be at 6:40. You can catch that at 98.7 HD2, our sister station, just right up the dial. Corbin Burns has got the bump tonight, 2-1, 2.95 ERA. He's going to start. And then Carson Palmquist. That's right. Carson Palmquist was making his major league debut. And the Diamondbacks are favored with heavy odds in their favor. They need to sweep this Rockies team. I mean, get yourself above, give yourself some breathing room above 500. You're 5.5 games back of first place, even though it's just, May 16th. So I think those are some of the things that you look at from the standpoint you need to win these kind of games before you play the Cardinals, the Giants, and Dodgers all over again.
I was going to ask you, because you're more of a baseball guy than me. For Corbin Burns, he had it took him a while to get him in the rotation. His fourth start this season, 2.95 ERA is not terrible. What would you want to see from him specifically tonight? Because this is a game to me. We talk. We're both football guys and stuff.
Sure.
This, if I had to equate it to a football game, let's say it's a new quarterback facing the Jaguars or facing the Titans, a horrible team where it's like, okay, these are the type of games that your get-back game to get the mojo rolling against a really bad team. Like, what would you want to see from him tonight?
Especially after a day off. I would want to see basically a shutout. I'd like to see Corbin Burns go 7 innings, maybe 6 or 7 Ks, no runs, maybe 2 hits at the most, and then have relief come in and shut down the Rockies as well, too. Very young ball club. You got a major league pitcher, this Carson Palmquist kid, his debut. I think you jump on him early. The thing about that, though, everybody says, well, it's his first major league debut. Well, that's true, but if you've never seen him before, you don't really know what kind of stuff he has. You've got the forward scouting report. You understand what is his good pitches, his out pitches. You have all that, but still a lot different as far as you facing him for the first time. But I would say maybe a 6-2 to 6-1 game. Maybe you shut him out. You can put this team on edge. And I think those are some of the things that I think a lot of Diamondbacks fans want to see, because you got Burns tonight, Zach Gallen tomorrow, and Merrill Kelly. So you got 3 games with all your dudes, all your studs, your top 3 starters that I would think, can sweep this Rockies team, or at least minimally take 2 out of 3. We'll catch up with Brandon Cristal here at the bottom of the hour, get his thoughts on, where is this team going? And more importantly, we'll get a chance to talk about the
you guys can break
the
the
Nuggets. The Nuggets taking into a Game 7. Well, coming up next, it's time to hit the rewind. As I mentioned, Jokic goes off for 44. The Nuggets survive to force a Game 7. How about Shohei Ohtani? Puts on a show of 2 bombs as the Dodgers drop 19 on the A's. Rory McIlroy fades early in the PGA. And Reds Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman has thoughts on Pete Rose and Cooperstown. It's your replay rewind, all that coming up right here on Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B, right here on ESPN 620.
Tired of the same old
Now it's time for our Replay Rewind. The top sounds of the night and whatever Rock decides to add. Let's get to it in Replay Rewind with Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620 and on FM at 98.7 HD2.
That's right. It is our Replay Rewind brought to you by Lerner and Rowe. Interact. Need a check? Make one call. That's all. 602-977-1900. That's 602-977-1900. And always online at lernerrow.com. Get your free consultation today. Again, that's 602-977-1900. Lerner Row, they can help. Well, a lot happened in the NBA last night, and one in particular, Game 7 is forces we talk about. As the Denver Nuggets pretty much get back into it, if the series is all tied up at 3-3 as they win, pretty much going away in that fourth quarter, 119-107. And the one thing, Jack's, about that game, they didn't fade in the fourth quarter. They really stepped up in that fourth quarter. But a guy that truly stepped up game after game was the Joker, was this pretty much making it all happen. Here's one of his many threes to give him a 188 lead.
Moment ago on the bench, but back on the floor with a team-high 25 points. Jokic rested the first 4 minutes and 7 seconds. He's come back fresh. And Jokic from deep gives Denver a 12-point lead.
And the thing that was there, sitting there for almost 5 minutes, again, thanks to ESPN, our good buddy Dave Pash for the broadcast last night, is you watch the Joker. And just again, to see him step up over and over and over again. And on top of that, it just amazes me with the 29 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. He's just the guy. I mean, it's like that 4 minutes of rest, it like rejuvenated him. It's like went over there and got a bunch of IVs and a bunch of oxygen to make things happen.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in this series, particularly when you got two MVP candidates going back and forth, SGA and Jokic consistently have been getting their own, whether it's 30 points, 45 points, or whatever. But it's what can the second guy do? What can the third guy do? And that really gives the team the edge in this game. And this one was, Jamal Murray, 25 points. Christian Braun, I think a playoff high of 23 points last night. And believe it or not, Porter actually scored more points than Aaron Gordon, which is shocking. And then to have the distribution on the bench with Westbrook and Strother. And then on the other side of things for the Thunder, Jalen Williams, a local kid, struggled last night, 3 of 16. And that's where the series is going to be in Game 7 with the Thunder at home. And I'm hoping tonight the Celtics can get it done just because we love Game 7s.
Yes, we do.
And I think it would be kind of bring even more parity to have a Game 7 tomorrow with the Thunder Nuggets, and then how about on Sunday with the Celtics and the Knicks, which if you're the Pacers or Timberwolves, you got to be smiling ear to ear having all that time off. But to me, Manuch, in this series particularly, the stars are going to get their own. It's how can the other role players step up and step in to get their team over the edge. And you got to give credit to Denver when they needed it most. And what an atmosphere last night, too. It's cool to see the small market teams get some highlight in the playoffs.
Well, we talked about the 8 assists that the Joker had. When he passes, he does have eyes in the back of the head. Here's one of them right here. Over-the-shoulder pass for 2.
Points in the paint up as well. Jokic, what a pass. No look to Christian Braun.
How did he know? How does he know he's there? You're looking around. He has a pretty good idea. But to me, that's floor spacing. That's knowing where everybody is as far as that particular play. But when he passes periodically, I think we don't give him enough credit. They go, he had 8 assists, he had 10 assists, he had 14 rebounds, he had 25, he had 30 points, whatever. I think that's one of the more underrated pieces of his game.
Yeah, he's got such a great IQ. You wonder what's the future of the Nuggets head coach, because people don't realize they still have an interim head coach as their head coach. Kind of a quiet guy.
Oh, by the way.
He does a great job later on. Yeah. Oh, by the way. Yeah. Could we see maybe Jokic get hired as the head coach for the Nuggets and play and then be a coach as well? Or I don't see why not. They wouldn't bring this guy. It seems like the players like him. It seems like he knows when to step in and let Jokic take over. And maybe for this team, maybe to be the head coach for the Nuggets is one of the best jobs in the league if you got a guy like Jokic who can kind of take over and knows how to lead his players as well.
It'd be like circa, I think it was 1969 when Bill Russell was a player coach for the Boston Celtics. He was 68, 69.
It's working.
Why it not? Works. Yeah, absolutely. And this is how it all ended as they get ready, as Jackson mentioned, for Game 7 headed to Oklahoma City.
But was a star here tonight. We've got a Game 7 in the West. Sunday afternoon on ABC in Oklahoma City.
Again, thanks to ESPN and Dave Pash. Well, Jackson, I don't know if you noticed this, but a football game broke out with the Dodgers and Athletics. 19-2, the final score. And this Shohei Ohtani guy, he's not bad. Hit a couple of dingers. I mean, he hit some big shots. Here's the first of two, this 3-run home run in the bottom of the third.
On a 2-0, Ohtani launches the ball the other way, headed towards the seats. It is gone. A 3-run home run from Shohei Ohtani. 10 runs for the Dodgers in 3 innings.
Thank you to Sportsnet LA. Well, it wasn't much after that. The very next inning, another moonshot by, that's right, Shohei Ohtani.
There's another shot, center field. Back it goes, gone again. Another Ohtani home run. He's tied with Kyle Schwarber for the National League lead.
Yeah, I got to tell you what, the Ohtani, when you look at his numbers, and the other thing, too, is he was hitting about 365. He dropped a little bit. But last night, with the 2 home runs, the 6 RBIs, he's 2 for 5, hitting a clip of about 310 right now. But, when he hits a baseball, it's just a matter of it not only being gone, Jax, but how far is it gone? 410, 425, 445, 450 on par. And when you look at his numbers and the big numbers that this Dodgers team can put up, Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge of the American League, both the cream of the crop. Love to see a home run hitting contest between those two.
Why not walk him that second time? Why not walk him every time for Ohtani? Because you're when you pitch to him, he's going to have a home run in him. I think the best part of that clip was that Batman music they played in the background.
In the background
at
LA.
Oh my gosh, that is such a cool added element. I love hearing the sound of them doing that for the LA Dodgers too. But man, the Ohtani, I saw something the other day. Them giving his contract, the Dodgers have already made that money back because of sales, and jerseys, and the popularity that they've already gotten from Ohtani. What an investment. You got to give credit to, I know people don't like the Dodgers, and I know people always don't like how they have so much money and they go out and invest it, but you got to give credit to the Dodgers organization for just going all in on a prospect and then seeing the reward game out and game in.
And he had mentioned, was it a week ago, I saw that they'd offered him a 15-year contract initially.
Yeah, do you want an extension on top of that, Ohtani? Can you play for another 20, years after
2
that?
minutes.
No,
2
it's
minutes.
Incredible.
And I believe last year they played for like $7 million. And as the contract goes, it escalates.
60, 63 every year.
Talk about a user-friendly guy and a user-friendly contract. Again, thanks to Sportsnet LA for those clips. Jax, we're all watching this. You're watching this PGA tournament. Rory McIlroy struggling yesterday, and some of the top 3 that were pretty much struggling. Matter of fact, the top 3 were one pairing. But would you believe it? A double bogey had the honors of the tee. Yeah, that's right. Here's Scotty Scheffler talking about that double bogey and having the honors at the tee box.
When in your life have you ever scored a double and then had tee honors on the next hole?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Xander and I both hit it there in the fairway, and I actually didn't know what happened to Rory over there on the side. We found out as we were walking off that he had made double, but Xander and I were both in the fairway and had mud balls, and it's just tough to control coming down that hill, and end up both of us got a bad break.
1 minute. 1 minute.
We actually had to make some putts for double, so I didn't feel too terrible about it making a 6-7 footer for double, but yeah, it's pretty rare playing with top 3 players in the world, and double keeps the honors.
What's most important?
I've never had a double that had the honors. I think when I might have played with some amateurs or guys never played, that's about the only time. But think about that threesome. I mean, those are the 3 top dudes who were scruffle-upless yesterday. And then Vegas, who? Yeah, Jonathan Vegas has been around for a long time.
30.
Yeah, he's won 4 tournaments on tour too. But it's funny you mentioned that. Xander hits it in the water, and then Scotty does the exact same thing. I just don't understand how players are don't adjust on the fly when you see one guy go to the water. You would think that you maybe lay up towards the front of the green, but I do love seeing golfers struggle. This is the majors. This is what we want to see when golfers back against the wall, and Rory McIlroy bounced back again 3 under through 7 holes after having 3 over yesterday.
You got to love it. You got to love to see that these guys are human, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys hitting out of the water, one leg in, one leg out, in reference to playing that. Hey, replay rewind again is brought to you by Learn and Row. In a wreck, need a check? Make one call. That's all. 602-977-1900. And always online at learnandrow.com. Get your free consultation today. Again, at 602-977-1900. Learn and Row. They can help. Well, coming up, the PGA Championship leaderboard check. The Nuggets force Game 7 and Rockies D-backs weekend preview from Chase Field. We go out to Denver and catch up with Fox Sports' Brandon Kristoff. But first, Jax has our Right Toyota ESPN 620 update as you're listening to Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM, HD2.
It's now time for your Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's Twin Peaks, Right Toyota ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Arizona Cardinals 2025 schedule is out. They open the season on the road at New Orleans on September 7th, followed by a home opener week 2 against the Panthers. Tonight at Chase Field, Corbin Burns takes the mount against the Colorado Rockies. First pitch, 6:40. And now it's time for your Vans Golf Shop PGA Championship leaderboard update. Leading the pack at Quail Hollow. How about Jonathan Vegas? 8 under, followed by a pair of golfers, Pavone Smalley-Garrard at 6 under, and Max Homa. Yes, Max
20
Homa
seconds.
tied up with Matt Fitzpatrick at 5 under apiece. Some of the contenders struggling, but starting to get things going in the second round. Rory's even. Bryson DeChambeau, 3 under.
10 seconds.
Scotty Scheffler, 4 under. Vans Golf Shop. More than a golf shop, it's a golf experience. And come out to Right Toyota as well. Right in the corner, right on the price. Right Toyota.
located at 77th Street and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in Scottsdale. Now back to the guys on ESPN 620.
Had an opportunity to get into his pull-up. He did it, led to a turnover on that possession.
Murray for three. Got it at the foul. Chance at a 4-point play for Jamal Murray.
That's right. The Nuggets going to force Game 7. Thank you to ESPN, our good buddy Dave Pash there. And a guy that we always call when it's all things Denver. He's the affiliate correspondent at Fox Sports Radio and reporter and general manager at Guerrilla Sports. Brandon Cristal now joining us here on the Right Toyota Guest Line. Brandon, it's Manuch alongside Jax. You were at games, the first couple of games there for this Denver Nuggets in OKC. You're at games 3 and 4. Talk about the resiliency of this Denver Nuggets team as they're forcing a Game 7 going back to OKC.
Yeah, Manuch, it's like whenever their backs are against the wall, that's when they seem to figure out a way to pull out a win and find help from guys they're not always counting on. Last night it was Julian Strawther, who you would think they might have wanted to count on sooner, the first-round pick from a couple of years ago, just been battling injury, so he hasn't really been able to consistently perform for the Nuggets. And so I think that when you look at what he was able to do last night, it was 3 after 3, especially a big one late. It's just indicative of the team where you know what Joker's going to give you most nights. You have a pretty good idea about Jamal and Aaron Gordon, and after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. Does my fellow Jayhawk Christian Brown get him to play like he did last night? Well, he has some, but not all the time. Michael Porter Jr. is playing with one arm and a busted foot and a sore back, and so you can't always count on him. And so I think it's just a credit to them that they've been able to stick with perhaps the best team in basketball and make it hard for them. And they're going to be, if they don't win this series, which is certainly possible, they're going to be kicking themselves with the way they let Game 4 and Game 5 especially slip out of their fingers.
Brad, it's interesting. I was texting my son. He lives there in Denver. We're going back and forth. I'm watching the game. He's watching the game. And you watch that fourth quarter in Game 5, as you alluded to, when they had, a 9-point lead going in the fourth quarter. And it's almost as if they had cement shoes on. Their only field goal came with within 6 minutes of the quarter. They seemed to bog down in that fourth quarter. Matter of fact, the stat was they've been outscored like 62-25 in the fourth quarter of the series. But last night, they win the second half and they win the fourth quarter. What would seem to be the issues in the fourth quarter leading them to last night's game?
Well, I think to some degree it really was just fatigue. It's that simple. That they were looked like in both of those games. And it's hard when you're playing your starters 42 plus minutes and you're trying to game the system a little by using timeouts. I think, in fact, last night, part of the reason David Adelman, the interim coach, didn't use some of the challenges was because if he lost them, he was going to lose timeouts that he knew he needed in the second half, instead of just worrying about a bucket, when Chet's flopping or SBA's flopping or whatever it is. If the refs are going to make that call, he just has to concede it because he needs those timeouts strategically. And maybe he didn't use them enough, I think, in Game 5, but it really is just a matter of, because they're having to kind of beg, borrow, and steal with their bench, because Peyton Watson can't give you enough consistently. As I mentioned, Strawther, certainly his first time he's shown up. We know Christian Brown's a starter, but then you got to talk about Russell Westbrook too, who's been certainly better than he has been bad, especially in this playoff run. But the last couple of games, he's been non-existent. And last night, he was about to single-handedly win the game for his old team. And OKC, if they'd have left him on the floor much longer. I think in his first 7 minutes, he was minus 14, and it felt like more.
Is your top coaching candidate for the Nuggets Nikola Jokic for next season, Brandon?
Why wouldn't it be?
Go player coach like Bill Russell?
Yeah, exactly. Talk about his role and what he's done with this whole situation.
And so, I was playing pop psychologist on this, and I brought it up to Adelman after Game 1 in OKC, which they won, where from my point of view, it reminded me of whenever your dad leaves the house and you're the man of the house, you and your brothers, and y'all might split up the duties, but if dad's not around, who's the man of the house? And so it's not that Michael Malone, I do think Michael Malone's message may have fallen deaf on some of his players' ears at that point. It was pretty obvious, but that Adelman's there, and so it is more inclusive. And so it wasn't that Joker was biting his tongue or Jamal was biting his tongue or whatever it may be. It was more just, he got it. He's our head coach. He has been since we got into the league. That's how it was for Joker when he came in. Malone was his coach since his rookie year, and same with Jamal a year later, same with Michael Porter Jr. right after that, and Aaron Gordon now for a bunch of years. So it's more just a deference, not that he was saying something and telling them not to speak up. They just didn't feel obligated to. And Adelman from the jump has said, look, this is your team, and I know we'll maybe touch on some Broncos. Sean Payton will always like to bring up that the best teams are the ones that are really led by the players. And so as long as they're doing what Sean Payton wants, of course, but the point being, when it matters as much to you as it does to your coaches, if not more, then yeah, speak up. And so Adelman encourages it. And I think the only way he doesn't get the job is if when Josh Kroenke sits down with Nikola Jokic and with Jamal Murray, but especially Joker, when he sits down and says, hey, do you want David to be the coach? The only way that he's not is if Joker says, no, I want you to hire so-and-so, or no, I think they're better candidates. Because otherwise I feel like this is almost certainly going to be his job, because he does empower the players so much and relies on them to help lead.
Real quick, before we talk about your Denver Broncos, what is up with this Rockies team? You and I were going back and forth this morning. They might break a Major League Baseball record for losses. What the hell's happened to that organization over the last 5 or 6 years, Brandon?
Well, I like Bud Black, and I think Bud Black's a good baseball man, but he just hasn't had a lot of help in the personnel side. And so since 1999, when they hired Dan O'Dowd and Bill Schmidt, who is the current GM, their personnel department has been a straight line. And sometimes that works in certain organizations. But a lot of times when things aren't going well, you're going to want to look outside the organization. And so I think that's been the biggest problem, is they're not open to new ideas. And if you ask them, they'll say, oh, well, you bring someone else in, they don't know what it takes to win at Coors Field. And then when they draft players or sign players and that doesn't work out, well, they blame the players. And so because of that, they just don't make any changes. And Dick Montfort, who's the controlling owner, his brother Charlie's invested but not involved in the day-to-day. He's got one son who runs the business side, or will eventually be the CEO on the business side. And his other son is in the scouting department, who played small college baseball and was drafted.
3 minutes.
Department. There was a press release a few years ago that at 33, he was one of the youngest pro scouting directors in baseball history. So they're just biding time to promote him anyway. And so they just don't have great ideas. And if they were going to hire an outside GM, unless it was going to be on a limited basis, that person would know that they have to be looking over the shoulder, because in a couple of years, they're going to promote Sterling, the son on the baseball side, to run it anyway. So you have people that aren't creative with the moves that they make. They've hit on a couple players, certainly throughout the years. When you talk about Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story, and going back beyond that, the guys O'Dowd had with Matt Holliday and trading Holliday, but getting Carlos Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, all those guys. But now they've got a couple players. I mean, Brenton Doyle, I have a friend that works in the baseball operation. When I asked about Brenton Doyle, he's like, oh, I think he's just a guy. Well, Brenton Doyle's won back-to-back Gold Gloves, and he's struggling at the plate like everyone, but he's more than just a guy. And Ezekiel Tovar is a legitimate all-star prospect at shortstop. And after that, you're just kind of hoping these guys figure it out. They're okay. All of their pitchers are 4s at best on most staffs, on good staffs. Maybe the Dollander kid that throws 100 might have a chance to be more than that, but it's just it's a mess with no real end in sight. And MLB can't step in and force you to sell the team, although it sure would be nice if they at least encourage them to look for some outside help. And maybe, Stan Kroenke would be able to get the baseball team that he doesn't have and own all the sports, or a team in every sport.
Transition to football, Brandon. What are your expectations for the Broncos after the schedule release, after an impressive draft? This seems like in year 3 for Sean Payton. How do you view the Broncos in a loaded division with the AFC West and probably the most talented coaching division in the NFL?
Yeah, well, it's certainly that. When you look at the resumes of their coaches, even though Jim Harbaugh doesn't have a Super Bowl, we know how good a coach he obviously is.
1 minute.
Himself. And Andy Reid's maybe the best coach this side of Bill Belichick, certainly in recent years. And so I think that it's still realistic with what Sean Payton and Bo Nix were able to do last year with a limited salary cap because of the dead money owed to Russell Wilson, that they still managed to make the playoffs. They obviously finished behind the Chargers, lose a couple tough ones to them, including one on a Thursday nighter in December there in LA, where they're up 21-0 and let that slip away. And obviously big gap between them and the Bills in that playoff game in Buffalo in week 1. But to think that they'll be less than 10, 11 wins, I think is probably underestimating them. I think Vegas at last check had them at 9.5, but that was maybe before the schedule came out. And so they've got an okay schedule. It's not the most favorable, but part of that is just because of their division. But they don't have any crazy road trips or 3 weeks in a row on the road. They get to go from Philly right to London early in the year in October, and so they do go from Washington home for the week and then to Vegas. That's not the farthest trip, obviously, Denver to Vegas. So I can't pick them to beat the Chiefs until someone, whether that's them, the Chargers, or Raiders, proves that you can beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But I certainly think they'll be in the playoff mix, and maybe if there's some injuries that knock the Chiefs down a peg, they could win the division, but you can't pick them to win the division. I do think they will be a playoff team again, because you got to like what you saw from the offense and the defense, which is maybe one of the best defenses in football, or is certainly one of. Maybe the best defense in football got better if Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga are healthy, and if the corner
break
right on the field, they're going to be even more stout on that side of the ball, and they were already number one in the league in sacks.
He's Brandon Cristal. You can tweet him at BK Denver Sports, also at Gorilla Sports. Brandon, always great to catch up with you. We'll be talking to you this summer, all things, going with the Nuggets, going with the Broncos, Rockies. Well, that minor league team you have there, we're just got to sit back and watch all that happen going on. But always a great time. Always appreciate you coming on.
Of course, if they steal Game 7, then I'm happy to talk to y'all next round when they take on the Timberwolves. Try to get some revenge there.
You can count on it. Brandon Cristal. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it, buddy. It's Brandon Cristal. Is brought to you today by All City Towing, the largest city towing company in the state, and a place where your career can get a serious boost. They're hiring right now dispatchers, call takers, lot attendants, drivers, and customer service pros. Enjoy set schedules, top-tier towing equipment, health benefits, a 401k with employer match, paid life insurance, and even a monthly fuel allowance. Does that sound good to you? We'll take the next step. Visit allcitytowing.com. That's allcitytowing.com. All City Towing, where your future is on the move. Well, next on this day, Magic Johnson makes history, and Sammy Sosa joins the 400 Club, plus little football 50, and a shakeup in college football playoff system. And Alabama's aggressive recruiting move makes waves. All presented by Vans, Golf Shops, and Arena Sports Grill. Stick around for more on Roc and Manuch, Jimmy B, right here on ESPN 620.
Right on the price. Right Toyota in Scottsdale.
That's right, a little bit on this day. We look back at things that happened going back to 1980. Jack's rookie Magic Johnson drops in 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists in Game 6 of the NBA Final, leading the Lakers to a title and becoming the only rookie ever to win the Finals MVP. And you ask, well, what happened to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Well, the game before Jack's, he had twisted his ankle. He was unable to go. So as you know, Magic's right, pushing about 6'9". He goes down and just has this phenomenal game, as I just talked about, against Roc's Philadelphia 76ers. And I believe, as I'm watching this game, I believe it was in Philadelphia. So it's just amazing what this rookie, that's right, rookie Magic Johnson could do, going from a point guard to the center position and having everybody else pretty much take it over. So that game way back in 1980, going back on May 16th. 2001, Sammy Sosa blasted his 400th career home run, joining MLB's elite power hitters. And you think about some of the things that Sammy did. I'm so glad that I think the Chicago Cubs fans have finally said enough's enough. They're allowing Sammy to come back. He served enough penance after so many years. And I believe coming up this summer, Jacks, they're going to probably have like a Sammy Sosa day or something along those lines. On this day is driven by Vans Golf Shops in Arizona, serving golfers since 1963. Expert service, custom fitting, and a 90-day satisfaction guarantee. All you have to do is visit worldwidegolfshops.com. That's worldwidegolfshops.com to find a location nearest you. All right, Jamal, give me a little bit of NFL football love here at Football at 50. Gotta love it.
Yeah, you can never have a football at 50
Gotta love it
without the NFL Films music. There's some things in life that we can't figure out as a society, and it feels like the college football playoff being one, where the 12-team playoff, it didn't go particularly well, apparently, to people that expected the 1 through 12 seeding. It looked great. The 4 automatic qualifiers from the conferences. People are upset about it, and people are trying to figure it out. Well, Commissioner in the ACC, Jim Phillips, is proposing the seeding for the CFP for the 12-team playoff to just be seeded 1 through 12 in the final rankings. No automatic bids, no buys. Now, you get further on, people trying to figure this out.
No automatic bids or buys.
No automatic bids
you
or
win
buys.
your conference, and somebody else is ranked ahead of you, which would be probably few and far between. You may not go, so you might be 13, win the conference, whatever conference that is, because of competition, and because the team that you beat has had a better schedule and ranked higher. So no automatic bids if you win. Wow. This might go over like a lead balloon.
Well, I don't understand how they can do no buys, because it's physically impossible for a 12-team bracket to not at least have some buys. Now, a 16-team bracket, which is what they're trying to propose, would allow everybody to play the same amount of games. Now, there's some more shakeover now, because last week me and Rock talked about it, that the CFP wants to expand to 16 teams. In the 16-team model, the Big Ten and the SEC would have 4 automatic qualifiers, while the ACC and Big 12 would have 2 each. The group of 6 would have 1 being group of 6, not group of 5, because the Pac-12 will be returning as a group of 5 conference, and then 3 at-larges. Well, the ACC, and specifically Pennsylvania Congressman Rep. Brendan Boyle, came out on his social media account and typed out a message giving a shot towards the SEC and the Big Ten, saying, quote, "The next time the Big Ten and the SEC wants to meet with me about NIL, they need to come see me. They need to be more prepared first and explain to me how they can justify trying to rig the CFP." Now, let me step back.
Wait a second. We got Congress getting involved
We
now?
have Congress getting involved in trying to figure out the
gosh.
CFP. Look, people are upset because the Big Ten and the SEC have more qualifying spots. It's time to wake up, people. The Big Ten and the SEC run the sport. They produce the more NFL players. They have the best teams. I think if we do go to a 16-team model, we don't want to have a situation where an SEC team at 3 lost, but they have to play a really grueling schedule, gets left out because of what we saw with Indiana last year and vice versa. So, Manuch, your thoughts about the 12-team? We're going to expand to 16. I can't even – people want 16 teams for a playoff, but we can't even figure out a 12. So how are we going to even get to that step?
If it's not broke, why fix it?
Exactly.
I don't understand. It worked perfect this year. The buys, even though not one team that had a buy won and moved on, okay, so be it. But to your point, I think that what the congressman is saying is here, look, he said, we passed an antitrust violation so you could basically have NIL. Now you're coming back and you want to tweak. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clean that up just a little bit. Have it your way on the way you want to do for the playoffs. And for now, there's nothing wrong with it. So I know we kind of, a little facetious about Congress getting involved. But sometimes I think in this case, it's somewhat judicial for them to get involved. I think from the players' perspective, it was good they got involved as far as the antitrust violation to allow the NIL. Only problem with that was there was no guidelines. There was no guardrails. There was nobody to mind the fort as to how you construe the NIL. Now, Pandora's box has been opened. The genie's out of the bottle. Whatever acronym you want to use has been basically what has happened. Now, in this case, if I'm Congress, I would push back and say, guys, let's just let this thing breathe for a couple of years. And when you go to a 16-team type playoff, what's fair? To your point, you're going to have buys. You're going to have, the winner of the conferences get that bye. The at-large, they're going to maybe they play one of those. They get a bye, or maybe they play one of the top 16 teams. That's the only.
It was 1 year of the 12 team, and it didn't go as expected because Boise State had the fourth. That's why. The Big 12 people expected Utah to be the team to win it and have a really good record. That didn't happen. It was Arizona State who gave us one of the best games in college football last year. Not a lot of the people expected them to compete against the Texas team that finished second in the SEC. And then the ACC's been down. So if you're mad at the ACC because the Big Ten and SEC are getting more attention, well, I'm sorry to break it to you. Have your conference be better because it's Clemson and then insert second team. Maybe gets in the playoff Miami. We saw Miami last year who do not deserve to get in. You lose to Syracuse. You had 2 other bad losses. You did not deserve to get in. The teams like potentially an Ole Miss, I don't think they deserve to get in either because 3 losses you should not be able to get in a 12-team model. Now, we'll see what happens next year with the 12-team and 16 later on. We're all football guys.
Yes.
I'm all for it. But if you're going to do 16-team playoff, it's either got to start sooner or we have to eliminate regular season games because at that point, you're asking these players to play almost as many games as the pros do. So I think that's my thing. If you're going to put a 16-team model, then they're going to have to eliminate conference championship games too on top of that because then that's like another added bonus where if you don't have any buys, then why are we even having those championship games?
Excuse me. I think it's fine just the way it is right now. To your point, and that's too much common sense right there, Jack.
Yeah.
Not really throw too much common sense at anybody in particular. Hey, a couple more here. Just this Texas A&M tops the SEC in coaching buyouts. $27.5 million total, with $19.3 million going to Jimbo Fisher. Remember when they had the extension, and the next year they fired him? And, right now, I think Jimbo is doing some consulting. I see him on TV once in a while. $19.3 million buyout. But when you talk about the SEC, who tops, as far as coaching buyouts, the one thing I think you might have alluded to there, Jax, was that they've got the money. They feel they got the power with ESPN behind them. When you see these kind of payouts and what they're trying to do, going to Congress to try to get their fair share, it all comes together. And when I see these payouts, I see them trying to position themselves to go to Congress. And the one thing I like about the congressman, though, is, you know what? Get your act together before you come to me. I need some more of a specific plan. And that's why I wanted to tie those two together. Because if you're going to go in front of Congress or a congressman to lead the battle or, God forbid, drop a bill to make this happen for the play, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They've got more important things to digest and work on.
But I do think it is nice that other people are trying to get involved and figure this out because with what they're doing currently with the NCAA or the CFP committee, it's just not working. So someone's got to come in and intervene. But to your point about Jimbo Fisher, did you see him in Cabo when you were there as well? Because he doesn't need to work probably for the rest of his life, making $19.3
So are you saying all those guys who have been paid out are headed down to Cabo?
Cliff Kingsbury didn't have to work technically. He's still getting paid by the Cardinals and all these coaches. You can go on with the list of all these buyouts. But, no, it is interesting. But Texas A&M, probably the best thing they could have ever done because Mike Elko, hell of a coach. A&M got a bright future for sure.
Well, also they got Colin Klein as their offensive coordinator. That's down there as well, too. And then last but not least, Alabama targets a 5-star recruit. You'll love this, Jax. Committed to USC, making major recruiting waves. He's committed. But here comes Bama. making it all happen. Football 50 is brought to you by Arena Sports in Scottsdale. Great food, cold drinks, and off-track betting. So catch the action at 62nd Street and Bell Road. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll get you caught up on all the top stories. And 49ers play-by-play voice Greg Papa joins us to talk about some of the biggest things that are going on in the National Football League. That is, the 49ers are said to have the easiest schedule in the entire National Football League. That's next on Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2 live from Wright Toyota. Top highlight.
It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
48.
Now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at ArizonaSports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
Welcome in hour number 2 of Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B. Dan Manuch alongside Jackson Groff. We got Jamal Gumo back at the studio, the fine palatial ESPN studios, as we are out here at Wright Toyota, located at 78th Street and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. Before we move on, we want to get into our State 48 Roofing It's Your Call question of the day. State 48 Roofing, the #1 referred roofer in Arizona, proudly serving the Arizona residential and commercial markets for over a decade. For a free quote, repair, or installation, head to state48roofing.com and follow them on social media by searching hashtag sexy roof status. All you have to do is just go to @Roc and Manuch on X. Here's the question. Looking at this year's schedules, who do you feel has the best chance to win the NFC West? Is it the Rams? Is it the 49ers? Is it the Seahawks? Or is it the Cardinals? Again, looking at this year's 2025 schedules, who do you feel has the best chance to win the NFC West? Again, just go to @Roc and Manuch on Twitter, and you can vote Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, and Cardinals. Jax, which way you lean? Are you letting it marinate a little bit there, bud?
I'm letting it marinate because I got breaking news right now, Manuch, that you are going to be happy about. The 49ers and quarterback Brock Purdy have agreed to terms on a massive 5-year, $265 million extension. This is a massive payday for a player who was once the final player picked in the NFL draft. He's poised to make over $55 million a year for the first 3 years of his new contract and $215 over the first 4 years. This is a guy that was due to make $5.3 million in his last year of his rookie contract. But what I love most about sports is the timing of this because, one, obviously you coach Brock Purdy, but two, having Greg Papa at 2:30. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know you prompted me so well for that question.
No, man.
But your thoughts about your guy, Brock Purdy, getting 5 years, $265 million.
Thank you, broadcasting gods. Do smile down upon Roc and Manuch.
181 guaranteed.
Is it so 180? Let me do the K-State math. 181 guaranteed.
And 165 will be for his first 3 years of his deal.
So 165, guaranteed. And you said, okay, so 165 guaranteed. So total contract, 5 years, $265 million. And what's the total guarantee again?
181, including 165 that he'll get in his first 3 years of his deal.
Okay, so
not this year, but the next 3 of his
man.
new deal.
Okay, so 10 years of training, commission, let's say 10%. All right, Brock. So that check of $3.5 million.
Oh my goodness!
So I love to see this because he's one of the folks. I've been working with Brock since 9th grade and worked with him pretty much all throughout college, a little bit before his rookie year. And, I mean, it could not happen to a finer guy. He's committed. He wants to be there. He showed up at the OTAs. He was not going to let this get in the way of him allowing himself to go ahead and lead this team, be the leader of this team. And he figured he wanted to get it all worked out. Now, I will share this with you. We talked to Brock going way back at the end of the year last year after the Cardinals game. His goal was to make sure this got done before training camp. So they're in the OTAs, mini camps, whatever you want to call off-season, not mandatory versus mandatory. This is great. So he's got all the kind of the hay in the barn. He's got all this, pretty much behind him, which is exactly. So, yeah, you're right. It's right around, plus with all the incentives, 53 to 55 per year. The guaranteed money is the key right there, I think, for him. So good for Brock. Put it behind him. You got Kittle. You got McCaffrey. You got Brock Purdy. You got Ayuk. You got guys coming back. And now I
Bosa.
just hope exactly Bosa. You got now you hope the offensive line. Did you hear what I said there? Offensive line can hold fast and improve. So good breaking news. And yes, we will catch up with Greg Papa here at 2:30. And he and I have gone back and forth. I've known Greg for many, many years. He and his family are from Buffalo, and I knew Greg back then throughout his broadcasting years. And their goal was to get this done, and I'm just so happy to see this done.
Yeah, and I think for the 49ers, you mentioned all those core guys. I think it's one thing for NFL organizations, and I think the Cardinals are trying to figure out who those core guys are, because it's great to have your core, your quarterback, a great offensive weapon, running back, receiver, tight end, and some defensive players as well. Now it's time to draft. Now it's time to fill those holes, and kind of keep this run going for the Super Bowl run that they could still potentially have for the San Francisco 49ers. It's been cool. We're the same age. We graduated the same year out of high school and in college in 2018. And this is a guy that didn't get any offers until after his senior year. And for those out there who don't know, it's really hard high school recruiting. Usually your junior year is the big year that you want to get all these offers for. And I remember in the newspaper newspaper to this day when he got offered by Alabama, and that kind of trickled the offers for Ohio State. And I remember all the local products and reporters and people saying, how is this guy not getting all this buzz? He's getting all these awards, led Perry to the state championship game. Like, he's doing all this stuff. And just to see him go to Iowa State, where people don't remember this. You do, obviously, being around him. But he had to compete against a 5-star that also got recruited to Iowa State and outbeat him and played him. And then to see the kind of adversity that he's faced, and throughout it, I commend him as a man of God myself, and how he holds himself on the field and off the field, and he's the last pick. And then people are, well, he's got all these weapons. He's not a good quarterback. It's the weapons around him. And so for him to get this, and I tip my cap for him, because now he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. He deserves this. You look at what he ranks right now for highest paid quarterbacks. Dak Prescott's number 1 with $60 million. Burrow and Allen are 2, 3. Sorry, let me retract there. Tied for second is going to be Burrow, Allen, Love, and Trevor Lawrence, all at $55 million. Okay. And then you've got Tua Tagovailoa at 53.1, and then Brock Purdy and Jared Goff at 53. So I think he's in a good spot. Now, if you had to rank the quarterbacks based on their value, I would put Brock over Lawrence and Tua. Sure. But I think for him, maybe a guy that said, you know what, I could have probably got $60 million. I probably could have got 65 if I'm Brock. But just an outside perspective, seems like a team guy. $53 million, it'll do.
Yeah,
it'll do.
And to that point, he's a young man, and not to pull the curtain back, but he felt the same way. He just wanted his fair share. Right? So they came in at 45. In the Purdy camp said that dog's not going to hunt. Mm-hmm. So somewhere between 45 and 55 was the number. And so the number is at 53 plus the guaranteed money. And, when we talk about our State 40 Roofing It's Your Call question today, when you talk about the 49ers, who right now they say, whoever they rank them as the easiest schedule. So to your point, now you got Brock signed, you got McCaffrey signed here. So here's pretty much when you look at this, folks, if you want to research, go to your Rams, go to your Cardinals, go to Seattle. Now, when you see the 49ers with Brock signed, McCaffrey's got his money. Ayuk will be coming back. Juwan Jennings will be a receiver. Ricky Pearsall going into his second year. You got Kittle signed. Juszczyk is back at fullback. Trent Williams, he's going to be coming back. That offensive line is going to be very, very suspect. But they do have some decent depth that coincides with that. So when you look at them, the Rams starting lineup, the Cardinals starting lineup, Seattle starting lineup, you almost hedge your bet. If you're just a football fan, not a biased Cardinal fan, that I would think, for me right now, I voted for the 49ers. Schedule, talent, guys coming back, everybody signed. There's no issues off the field per se, and they can move forward with their schedule and all the above. Now, the Niners will probably tell you, and we'll catch up with Greg Papa, the play-by-play voice here at 2:30, that they're not looking for any handouts whatsoever. They want to go out and earn it. They want to make sure that they rebound from last year's team. So, again, just go to @Roc and Manuch on Twitter and cast your vote.
I think it is funny, too, and they probably forecasted this. If they don't get this done, right, and they have the easiest schedule in the NFL, they probably save themselves a lot of money, because what if Brock Purdy has an MVP-type season with the easy schedule? Then he's due for what? $60 million next year, $65 million. So you got to tell yourself, too, with John Lynch saying, hey, of course they were going to get this done with the last year on the rookie deal. You never want to have your starting quarterback on his last rookie deal.
Never.
The possibility of them going to free agency or whatever, it was going to get done. But I definitely think an added bonus to it was, we have a really easy schedule. Okay, Brock Purdy could have even a better year, maybe a career year. Yeah, let's get him now before, that transitions.
Jax, look at you thinking like a general manager,
trying to think outside the box there. It just kind of adds itself up. But no, shout out to Brock Purdy, man. I wonder what you're going to buy. Probably a house, a John Deere tractor, unless you already got one from that commercial that you did.
1 minute.
Maybe Manuch, a tequila bottle or something. I don't know. But
come in, since he's a Toyota national sponsor, come into Wright Toyota here. And I don't know, buy Roc, Manuch, Jimmy B, Jax, and all our gang, maybe a nice little, I don't know.
It's just insane. I just think we all take for granted. This was the last pick of the draft. This is not supposed to happen. This isn't supposed to happen. A guy, the last pick, Mr. Relevant, making $265 million just 4 years later.
Okay, so think about this. If you were to take this to Hollywood, this script to Disney, what you just said, hey, we've got a story here. There's going to be a quarterback. He was not highly recruited out of high school. Went to Iowa State as the fourth-string quarterback. Started playing after his third game.
15.
Became all everything. Coming and going from here and there. I think you kind of, and then he was Mr. Irrelevant, the pick, and then he led the team to a NFC Conference Championship. Got hurt. Next year he took him to the Super Bowl. The third year they fell at hard times, and then the fourth year before season he becomes one of the highest paid quarterbacks ever in the National Football League. You know what that rep at Walt Disney Pictures would say? You know what? You've been smoking something really too much. We're going to pass on that story because some of those stories are so far-fetched and yet so real. So congrats to Brock Purdy. Hey, coming up, you just heard us talk about the college football playoffs in the last hour. Well, how about the NFL playoffs? We'll break it down for you next on Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2.
ESPN 620.
Again, Greg Papa, the play-by-play voice for the San Francisco 49ers, joining us here in about 15 minutes or so and talk about the impeccable timing in reference to Brock Purdy getting a 5-year extension to the tune of $265 million. If I do the K-State math, about $53 million per year besides all the guaranteed money. So the Purdy family and Brock, very, very well deserved. And we'll catch up with Greg Papa and get his thoughts from San Francisco. Well, we talked in the last hour Jax broke down the potential for the college football playoffs. He talked about how, they're thinking about just taking the top ranked teams per se to go to the playoffs. Okay, we beat that up. Nice little diatribe. Congress getting involved. Well, also the National Football League is looking at maybe tweaking their playoffs. Way back when you referenced to when the owners met, they could have voted on the potential playoff change in March for the National Football League. But after spending some time debating the issue, it was decided that the talks would be tabled until their next meeting, which will be happening May 20th and May 21st in Minneapolis. So it's coming up this weekend, right? Coming up next weekend. The proposal for the postseason change actually came from, imagine this, Jax, the Detroit Lions. And that proposal is what will be taken into consideration next week. Now, here's the proposal. The Lions proposal is the 7 teams in each conference would still consist of 4 division champs and 3 wildcard teams. Got it? However, the big change is that the teams would be seeded by who has the best record. Under this proposal, a wild card team could be seeded ahead of a division winner if the wild card team has a better record. Now, this means that a wild card team could be seeded as high as number 2. Now, under the current format, the 4 division winners get the top 4 seeds, followed by the 3 wild card teams. In the current format, no wild card team can be seeded higher than 5th. Okay, you got all that?
Yep.
Now, here's what it was like in 2024. Here was the seeding per se. The Lions with 15-2, the Eagles at 14-3, Buccaneers at 10-7, the Rams at 10-7, the Vikings at 14-3, and the Commanders at 12-5, and the Packers at 11-6. Now, here's what they have looked at with the Lions proposal. Okay, so the Lions would be the number 1 seed at 15-2. Followed by the Eagles, Vikings at 14-3, Commanders 12-5, Packers 11-6, Buccaneers 10-7, and Rams at 10-7. So what happened last year was, basically the Vikings were the top seed because they won the division, so they had the top seed. The Lions were second division with a 15-2 record. So what they wanted
the Lions won the division last year.
I'm sorry, won the division last year.
Vikings were second. They had to play the Rams, but they had to play them. It was when the LA Fires and stuff was going on, so they had to play them at State Farm Stadium. In reality, it would have been a road game for them, being a team that won 4 games more than the Rams.
Exactly. So the best record situation, and we talked about that in reference to, okay, who are the top teams? Who got the best records overall as far as the seeding is concerned? So if you're going to take the conference championship away from somebody, I think this is probably going back, I'm going to say 15, 18, 19 years when the Seattle Seahawks got in as a wild card team with a 7-9 record. And Jax, you're probably a little bit too young to remember that. But what they're basically saying, essentially, this was brought up by the Lions in reference to making sure that the record circumvents the conference champion. So the whole key here is, if you're going to win your conference, let's say you're 10-7. Let's say you're the Arizona Cardinals.
Win your division.
You got to win your division. You got to basically stay. You got to stay the course. But there's a higher record that trumps your situation. You might get a second seed versus getting that top seed as a divisional winner.
I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, it does make sense in terms of if you win more games than a team like the Buccaneers or the Rams who had 10, you should be seated in front of them. But I do think it will devalue a little bit the point of winning your division.
Exactly. That's it right there.
And I do think I love that the division winners do get to have a home game, because I think in celebration to your fans specifically, also having that home game where the Vikings, you saw, okay, they would have hypothetically in the situation would have had a home game being 14-3, but they should have showed up regardless. If you're a 4-win team over the Rams, you should have won that game regardless. And there was a neutral site, so they had a little advantage versus being on the road for the Rams. I don't know how I feel about this. It's shocking that the Lions proposes, because they literally just won their division with the number 1 team in the NFC and at home field advantage. So you're wanting to switch up the system where you lost to the Commanders because they're a better football team than you were, and they won on the road at your place, but now you're complaining because you wouldn't even had to face a 12-5 team. You would have had to face a Rams or Buccaneers team that still probably could have beat you if you threw 3 interceptions and had 4 turnovers that night against the Commanders.
Yeah, and again, the proposal, the 7 teams each conference still consists of the 4 division champs and the 3 wild card teams. We got that. However, again,
like you lost at home.
Exactly.
Lions.
Exactly.
I don't feel bad for you.
So again, the big change that the teams would be seeded differently, even though you won the conference because your record's not as good. And I agree. I'm like, look, hey, I won our conference. I was in the AFC East. Buffalo, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Pats. And we won our division. Well, if the Patriots have a better record, but we won the division, and we won the, what do you call it? Not the home and home, but the, when you go against each other, say you won both
common
games.
opponents.
Yeah, common opponents. But just because we're 11-6, and you may say the Jets or Miami are 12-5, so we're going to get penalized and not get a top seed, but they're going to get seeded higher because they got a better record. Yeah, I just hope the owners just throw water all over this thing. I think because when I look at it, there's got to be some merit. If you win, who wins the head-to-head is what I'm looking for. If you win the head-to-head with your teams in that conference, or there's a team, how about this? Let's say you're both 15-2, but you beat, let's say you and Tampa are 15-2, but you beat Tampa, and they lost to somebody else.
3 minutes.
How do you look
minutes.
at it at that point in time? There's so much of a conundrum with this whole thing. I think just leave it alone, give the merit, because what you're saying, well, that conference isn't as valuable. Even though the Cardinals won the division at 10-7, the Minnesota Vikings were 14-3, and the Vikings were 15-2. Well, we're going to seed the Vikings ahead of the Cardinals, even though they won the division, but they had a better record.
Yeah, I think it looks,
that doesn't make sense.
It looks confusing too, because technically, like with all rankings and stuff, you would look at the 17 and say, okay, if we're a wild card team, we would just have to win 10 games to get in. But realistically, the 7-6 in the model that the Lions are proposing are division winners. So you still would have to win 11 or 12 games to trump the Packers as the 5 seed. I think it looks confusing. I think we just leave it as it is. Like, why? Like you say all the time, if it's broke, don't fix it. Like, it's like the same thing with college football right now. You have 1 year of the CFP not working out the way you thought, and people want to get rid of it. And now it's the Lions complaining because they lost against a quality component in the Commanders who
2 minutes.
who
2 minutes.
only lost 3 more games than them, and they lost on their own turf. So I think they just leave it as is. I think that the divisions are still a factor in the NFL, and I love that it matters with the NFC West having to, those games meaning more versus the other NFC or AFC kind of non-division games that you do play. I just think they just leave it, let it be, and I get the proposal from the Lions, but I'm not a fan of it as you continue to dive and we talk about it this segment.
So the bottom line is, you could struggle early on in the year, then you can scramble the last 5 or 6 games, win your division with a 10-7 record, or with a competition within the division, you could end up at 9-8 and win a division. Now, is that realistic? Yeah, it could be. But if you're 9-8 and all of a sudden everybody else in front of you with those 7 teams is better, you won a division, 9-8 and 10-7, and you're the wild card, and you won your division.
1 minute.
That makes no sense to me. Reference all that happening one way or the other. Well, coming up, do the 49ers have a cakewalk to the playoffs? And what about Brock Purdy getting paid? Plus, a PGA Championship leaderboard check. Howard Scheffler, Rory, and Xander shaping up at Quail Hall. But first, Jax has the right to the ESPN 620 update as you're listening to Roc and Manuch, Jimmy B on ESPN 620 and 98.7 FM HD2.
Blitz is coming. Purdy has it blocked. Floating one downfield for Kittle. He's got it. Touchdown, San Francisco.
That's right. It was a common theme for the last 3.5, going to go on 4 years. Brock Purdy won, George Kittle and one. Brock Purdy getting paid this afternoon. You talk about impeccable timing as we get ready to bring on the play-by-play voice for your San Francisco 49ers and also the co-host of Papa and Silver every morning on KNBR Radio. And also a fine Buffalonian, that being one Greg Papa, now joins us here on the right Toyota guest line. Greg, it's Manuch alongside Jax. Did you plan it this way, all you guys at San Francisco, that you were coming on with Roc and Manuch and that Roc was going to get paid at 2 o'clock our time?
Well, here's what happened, actually. He wanted me to come on like Tuesday or Wednesday this week at 2 o'clock, and then he sends me a text. We got more important news. We can't get to you today. Can you do it Friday at 2:30? And I thought, sure. Anything for Dan Manucci. We can do that. So, and then we find out right at the end of my radio show at 2 o'clock that Dan's guy, the Brock star, just got a 5-year deal at $265 million, the largest jump in salary from one season to the next in the history of the NFL. And he's now the highest paid 49er of all time. Kevin Burkhardt does a great job on Fox, but I got to give it more of a call there. That's Brock Purdy back to pass for the end zone. Irrelevant.
Oh, I mean, think about that, Greg.
Congratulations, brother.
Oh,
congratulations,
thank
brother.
you so much. I just, you kind of pitch yourself, and Jax and I were sitting there talking about, breaking down this story. And if you were to take this script to Disney Studios before he was drafted, think about that, Greg. He's Mr. Relevant. He goes in his 4-stringer. He comes in, NFC Championship game his first year, Super Bowl second year, up and down year last year because of injuries. And here we go. He's got the exponential salary, $181 million guaranteed. Disney would probably kick Greg Pop out of the office saying this is too fictional for us to take. Think about that.
I'm pitching it anyway. Well, I go back even before that to when you and Brock and the whole Purdy family got together, his dad Sean, and they empowered you to try to teach their son to play quarterback and all the work that he's done. So I remember Jackson when Brock played his first preseason game. I had Manuch on that Monday. And it was a preseason game, but the way he handled the end of game, he belies his years. Mr. Irrelevant is so ridiculous, and everything he's done. We were actually joking because he was the very last pick of the 2022 draft, number 262, that the Niners would give him a contract for $262 million this offseason. Now, I didn't know if it was going to be for 6 years and he'd make like 40 a year. If it'd be for 4 years and he'd get up in the Dak Prescott range, or if it'd be for what he got 5 years. So he didn't get 262, he got 265, and a large sum of it is guaranteed. So you could not be happier for Brock and his family, his wife. Dan's known him forever, and the little bit that I've been around him, he's not going to change one iota as a person. He'll put this money away. He's not going to blow this money. He will save it and do good things with it for himself and mankind. So, Manuch, you should, you always talk about telling him to quit Cadillac, and I think he needs to send you an Escalade right now and pay you back a little bit for everything you've done for him. But sometimes you give a guy a contract like this, there's a little risk involved that they're not going to show up, and that's not Brock. You know him, I know him. He's the Brock star. He's the Brock of Gibraltar. Because we call him Big Brain Brock. He's not only superbly skilled as a thrower and a runner and everything Manuch taught him, but he processes so well. So he's the perfect quarterback for Kyle Shanahan, and for Kyle to entrust this kind of money on this guy, it just tells you what kind of player he is. So obviously we're just thrilled knowing him so well, and he is so richly deserving of this deal.
So, Greg, big monkey off the backs of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan with this and Kittle. And outside of that, it seems like a bit of a quiet offseason for the 49ers. I know they went in the draft. They got Michael Williams. Kind of talk about what you envision this team now after them making some moves and keeping their core together long term. How do you think this Niners team will be this upcoming season?
Well, Jack, they lost 11 games last year. Let's not kid ourselves. And we lost every single team in the NFC West. The Niners ran this division for 4 or 5 years. And last year, starting with an early season collapse to the Rams and one to Arizona, and that sweltering hot day, we blew a big lead and kicker got hurt and then lost it at the end. Could not stop the run to the very end, that game in Glendale. The Cardinals ran all over the Niners. So they had to gut their defense. They had to improve their run defense. They drafted Michael Williams. The first 5 picks in the draft were all on defense. That has not been done in this franchise's history since Bill Walsh. And that year they won the Super Bowl when he drafted Ronnie Lott and Eric Wright and Carlton Williamson, and they were called Dwight Hicks and the Hot Licks. They were, a largely rookie secondary, 3 of the 4, and they won the Super Bowl. So they had to improve defensively, and they think they've done that. They traded Deebo Samuel in the offseason, not a big surprise. They've added some other pieces, but we'll see where it goes. This division's really good. I mean, the Rams had 1 year where they had to reset, and they're kind of the Niners model for this offseason, what the Rams did after the Super Bowl and the 5-12 year after that, and also what Buffalo did. Buffalo gutted their entire secondary and wound up going to the championship game again last year. But Seattle is good. You guys are 8-9. I think you're going to be one of the stronger teams in the division without question. The whole culture has changed there. So, but I think the Niners are on the right path, Jax. I would not be surprised if the Niners went from 11 losses to 11 wins next year. The schedule, and I don't like to play, hardest schedule, easiest schedule. It always changes year to year. But I'm not sure the Niners have a schedule that'll see a lot of the teams that had down years last year jump up dramatically. Now, the other teams in the division are playing the same divisions we are, so it's not that different, but having that last place schedule will help. So I think as long as they get back to health, I mean, the big reason why they struggled last year, Christian McCaffrey hardly played, Brandon Ayuk held out, and Deebo Samuel wasn't very effective. Deebo's gone. They've got your guy, Ricky Pearsall from Arizona down there as well. And so I think it's going to be a bounce back year for the Niners. And you tell me, who's going to win this NFC West this year? We go around the table, we could pick 3 different teams. And then I could add a 4th one as well. I mean, the NFC West is loaded. So it's like the old days. You just got to win your division first to get in the playoffs.
He's Greg Papa, 49ers play-by-play voice, and also the co-host of Papa and Silver every morning on KNBR Radio, and also fine Buffalonian that he is, joining us here on the right Toyota Guest Line.
Let's get Buffalo!
Hey, let's dive into that. You guys are getting all the accolades. Let me just read the you talked about the easiest schedule. Here's how it is on all these sites out there. The San Francisco 49ers have the easiest NFL schedule for 2025 based on their opponent's 2024 win percentage. The 49ers 2025 schedule features a combined opponent win percentage of 0.415. They so eloquently, basically, it seems like are handing you the NFC West title right there.
Well, but I mean, look, what is the strength of schedule the Arizona Cardinals are playing against?
Or
we're playing the same divisions.
They're 11th.
Yeah, but I mean, what the major difference is, we're playing the last place schedule.
Yes.
And, you guys are playing the third place schedule. Seattle's playing the second place schedule. And the Rams are playing the first place schedule. But, I mean, just look around. We have a home game against Jacksonville. Getting the quarterback back and obviously getting Travis Hunter is going to improve them. We got Atlanta on the schedule this year, the Giants on the schedule, Carolina, Cleveland, Colts, Chicago, Tennessee. I mean, the one thing, I never look at the strength of schedule from the year before because it invariably flips. That's the NFL. But the point I'm making is that a lot of these teams that are on our schedule, how much better is Carolina going to be this year? How much better is Jacksonville could make a jump if the quarterback is healthy and Travis Hunter's all that. But it is what it is. You're still going to go. We had terrible schedules and still won the NFC West the last couple of years. So, and obviously not last year, but I think they're comparable schedules. There's some adjustments. based on the strength of schedule. And
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
you know what's going to come down to? Those 6 division games.
Yes.
The 2 against you guys, the 2 against the Rams, the 2 against Seattle. The Niners ran this they didn't win a single game. They could not beat the NFC West last year, and they had terrible losses to them. Every one was a heartbreaker. We lost all 3 at home in the NFC West. So if you want to win the West, you got to beat the teams in the West. So the other teams, we'll see how it all flushes out. But I think the middle ground is going to be how we cannibalize each other those 6 games.
Greg, selfishly, I got to ask you this question. I know you have a bunch of different slogans for touchdowns with certain players on your team, whether that's Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy or so on. Your 7th round pick, Junior Bergen out of Montana. I got a pleasure to know this guy for 4 years, follow his career at Montana, and then to see him now get that opportunity with you guys. I'm just preparing you right now. Get that slogan ready for Junior Bergen when he returns a touchdown for you guys on kickoff return or punt return this upcoming season.
It's going to be a punt, right?
Yeah.
The guy had the all-time record for punt return touchdowns.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Slogan, what do I do?
Shoot.
What's the call got to be on Jurgen?
You're more creative than I am. I think it's got to be something Junior related. I don't know.
I got to figure it out. Here. I'll come up with something. But he's the guy. They didn't draft him at all to be a wide receiver. They drafted him strictly to be a punt returner.
Yes.
And we have a whole new coaching staff on special teams. Brant Boyer, Colt Anderson, his assistant. They all know the guy from college.
30.
Really are laying it out there that he's the guy. So there's no question. The Niners have gone so long without a punt return touchdown. It has been like decades. They have tied for the longest drought for returning a touchdown returning a punt for a touchdown. So I think the first part of the call would be, hallelujah! I finally have done it. And beyond that, we'll get your guy Junior in there somehow.
Sweet. That's great. That's Greg Papa. He is the play-by-play voice for your 49ers, also the co-host of the morning show, Papa and Silver, every morning on KNBR Radio. Well, please do me a favor. When you see Brock, give him a great big hug for me. We're proud of him. He's come a long, long way. And, as I always say, no slack in the Cadillac, but I'm at Wright Toyota today, so you can get me one of those fine Toyota Tundras. He gets his offensive lineman.
Well, Brock has, what do you want, a Sequoia? We'll send you anything you want. He's got them all lined up there. So he can send you like a whole fleet, Manuch, on what you did. So I think we owe all the time. And obviously, his dad, his mom, his family. And
great family.
But you raised him right, and he's such a great guy. So it's happy hour here in the Bay Area. I just got done with my show. It is time to go out and have a Brock-tini, I think, today. Celebrate.
I love it. Hey, Greg, always a pleasure. We will be talking to you soon. But great, and have a beef on wick on me on top of that.
Andersons. I'll have Gold Belly. Send them from Buffalo to. I love Andersons there. Jack, good talking to you, brother. I got to come up with a touchdown call for your guy.
I'm excited to hear it.
I will come up with one for him. I'm going to drop it on you before to make sure you approve.
Okay, sounds good, Greg. Thanks so much.
There he goes.
Thank you, guys.
You bet. Greg Papa at Greg_Papa, P-A-P-A-A. And also you can tune him in every morning on KNBR Radio, Papa and Silver. He's a little fired up, as we all are. And I think the thing that's just so exciting, you feel so good for Brock because he's such a fine young man from a fine family, everybody involved. So, again, congratulations to Brock Purdy, and we'll get into more of that as he signs a $265 million 5-year extension. And we'll break all that down. But coming up, you're listening to Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620 and at 98.7 FM and HD2 live from Wright Toyota.
Guys on ESPN 620.
Welcome back, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B out here, right? Toyota, Dan Manuch alongside Jackson Groff. A little random fact of the day. This is something. Were you a soccer player by any chance?
I actually was. I didn't play baseball when I was little. I went to soccer before I played football when I was 5.
So you're one of those soccer kids. You're like one of those club soccer teams.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like club. It was just like CCV Stars, just when you were like 3 years old. I do wish I would have played baseball because Little League sounds more fun. But continue with your random fact.
Did you guys? Okay, so like in baseball, we didn't really have the treats after a game. You might have gone down to the local 7-Eleven, got a Slurpee or something like that. Did you guys get like the treats?
Oh, we had orange slices at halftime. Of course.
Oh,
orange slices. We had Gatorade. We had the graham cracker cookies. Oh yeah, we had snacks. Our team was prepared, Manuch.
Well, that leads me to this random fact today. The fastest red card in soccer history was used 2 seconds in 2000 as English soccer player Lee Todd was sent off 2 seconds into a match. Why, you ask, Jax? Well, after the referees blew the opening whistle, Todd said, F me. That was loud. Everybody heard it. Was immediately shown a red card for foul language. Can you get a red card for foul language in soccer?
I didn't think that was the thing. I mean, if you get a red card for foul language, I think I've seen a bunch of that already the last 2 days of the PGA Championship. So I'm assuming they maybe get fines or some kind of penalties in PGA golf as well, too. But no, I did not know that fact. The fastest red card. I bet he probably regretted that.
Did you watch Ted Lasso?
I haven't yet.
Oh,
I know you've been trying to get me to watch Ted Lasso, and it looks so good. I have to get the Apple TV.
Talk about the F-bombs by one of the characters that's there. And I don't know, in reference when they're playing, if many F-bombs or cussing was happening out there on the pitch. So I did that there, Josh. I didn't say field. I said pitch, But, you got to watch Ted Lasso. You will love it. His motivational speeches, just the whole way it is, and then soccer on top of that. So, yeah, that's right. You can get, obviously, the fastest red card in history was an F-bomb was dropped within 10 seconds by English soccer player Lee Todd. All right, let's get to a little football at 50 back there. Jamal, give me a little music. Give me a little something. Oh, gotta love that. Well, breaking story. It'll be for the rest of the day, at least in the Manucci household. Here on Roc and Manuch, Jimmy B. Brock Purdy, that's right, is finally getting paid. Jax, break down the numbers. Gonna bring a tear to my eye to see how far this young man has come.
Yeah, biggest jump. He had a 4-year, $5 million contract, and that is no longer, as after this year will be his rookie deal, and then the extension will continue on after that. 5 years, $265 million, $81 million guaranteed, and $165 million guaranteed will be for his first 3 years. Now, you look at where he stacks in terms of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL on a per-year basis. At number 1 is Dak Prescott, $60 million. Sure, the Cowboys probably regret that right now. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jordan
Was that a
Love.
little shot across the bow?
They should never have paid him $60 million.
I agree.
That was so dumb for them to give him that much money for a guy that can't perform in the playoffs. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, $55 million each. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, deservedly so. Jordan Love, we'll see. Only played 8 games last year. He's got to bounce back. Trevor Lawrence also at $55 million as well. He's going to have a big year with their new head coach.
What's interesting, you say those names, and I'll let you finish the second here, where Brock has finished ahead of every one of them as far as completion percentages, all of the quarterback ratings, completion percentages. His first 3 years in the league, even on a down year last year, Brock Purdy's been ahead of every one of those individuals when you talk about the money that's set.
Trevor Lawrence, $55 million, like I mentioned. Tua Tagovailoa, $53.1, and then Brock Purdy and Jared Goff, both at $53 million apiece. You look back on what Brock Purdy's done his first 3 years: 9,500 passing yards, 64 passing touchdowns, 4 playoff wins, an NFC Championship, and a Pro Bowl. Yeah, I'd say he earned every penny of that $265 million extension. But when you do the flip side of things, Manuch, it's going to put a lot of pressure now on the 49ers to draft guys to fill around him. We saw the Chiefs do that with Patrick Mahomes. They were able to slot guys and get guys on 1 year's deal. I get you pay the quarterback, you deserve it. He deserves it as well, too, but it does come with the function of the other guys they've also paid around him, that it's going to put a lot of pressure on John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to get things done rolling quickly.
Well, I think the biggest area they've got to really improve upon, the way I look at, is this offensive line. They've been much maligned. I think that's one thing with this team. When you look at some of the things that they have to do, it's got to be improve that offensive line. And we talk about Trent Williams. He's gotten injured a couple times. They did sign DJ Humphries, former Cardinal, in the offseason as a depth guy. But you have the rookie last year, Dominic Pooney. You got Brendel at center, Barch at left guard. Heck, stop and think about it. Brock Purdy might have had a Super Bowl championship if not for the right guard. I think it was Pooney, who was a rookie at the time 2 years ago. He polls where he's not supposed to poll. And you have Jones come in unattended and forces Brock to throw the football away. When you had Ayuk wide open in the back of the end zone, Jennings was open, would have been open. It's just that he pulled for some reason. He down blocked. There's no reason. When you have a tackle over a guard right over your nose, you never leave him unabated. And that's what happened. So to that point, led him to a Super Bowl, the NFC championships you talked about, the playoff victories, lack of interceptions in reference to during this season, quarterback rating, clutch as far as high percentage downfield throwing.
3 minutes.
I mean,
Three
you go
minutes.
on and on and on. So in reference to those NFL quarterbacks that are very deserving, it's pretty much hats off to the 49ers and for Brock Purdy. But I think you bring up a great point, Jax. Now, this team with all these high-paid players, you got the Ayuks, the Kittles, Mickey Pearsall with his rookie contract going to his second year, Christian McCaffrey. I think Juan Jennings is getting paid kind of handsomely. Then you got Trent Williams. Ustek came back on I believe a veteran minimum, come back at fullback. Yeah, there's some pressure on this team, but on top of that, what's the defense going to do? How's the defense going to make those stops? Bosa's back. Look at some of the other guys that they've lost. Greenlaw's gone. So some of their high potent guys are pretty much lost. Mustafa, he's not going to be back for a while. Trey Brown, not going to be back for a while. So I think if there's anywhere to address to the 49ers, as we take a look at this, is that they're going to have to really focus on building that defense and making sure they're up to with this offense.
I hate to break it to you. Greenlaw and Mufasa, or whatever his name is, the safety are on the Broncos.
2 minutes.
They're not on the
2
49ers
minutes.
anymore.
That's what I said. Greenlaw's gone. Yeah, Greenlaw's gone, and Mustafa's also gone too.
Week 1 odds are out for the NFL. You can already bet on the NFL Week 1 odds. Real quickly, some intriguing matchups. Cowboys, Eagles. Eagles are a 7-point favorite in that game. Chiefs, Chargers. Chiefs only a 3.5-point favorite on the road against the Chargers. Some other notable games to highlight for Week 1. The Cardinals are a 4.5-point favorite against the Saints. The Niners are a 1.5-point favorite at Seattle. And then you get into some of these intriguing games. The Lions at the Packers, 1.5-point favorite. The Texans at the Rams are 2.5.
You're already working it, huh?
I'm already trying to predict and see who I want to get. But, it's always great. This first Sunday night football game of the year is going to be Ravens at the Bills. Must-watch TV for NBC. Like we said yesterday, the NFL is king.
Hey, let's get to our State 48 Roofing Injury Call question of the day for a free quote repair installation. Head to state48roofing.com and follow them on social media by searching hashtag sexy roof status. Looking at this year's schedule, who do you feel has the best chance to win the NFC West? Again, just go to @Roc and Manuch on X. The Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals. You can go ahead and let that marinate for a little bit and look at all the signings as we talked about for this San Francisco 49ers team. Those are going to be some of the keys. So, again, just go to @Roc and Manuch on Twitter. Give us your thoughts, see where you want to go, and work it from that way. Well, the winners and losers of the NFL schedule release, Washington rises, Dallas gets buried, and the champs get no favors. Plus, former Packer Raider
15.
James Jones from Fox Sports breaks it all down. It's all next on Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B as we are live from Wright Toyota on ESPN 620 and 98.7 FM HD2.
Dan Bickley.
Our number 3, Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B out here at Wright Toyota as the big boys guys sit. Dan Manuch alongside Jackson Groff. We got our good buddy Jamal filling up for Connor back at the studios. Yeah, I got to tell you what, a lot going on out here at Wright Toyota. A lot of folks. Must be every time we get out here, Jackson. They know the Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B, well, mostly me and you, are coming out here on Friday. This place is packed. Got a lot going on. And I just wonder, since Brock Purdy has signed that new contract, and we'll get into it in a second, does that mean that with all the Toyotas, since he's the national Toyota rep, or at least the rep there in San Francisco, that those offensive linemen who got their Toyota Tundras, I believe, for their Christmas gifts, that the whole team might get a special Toyota coming from either Wright Toyota or the Toyota dealerships there in San Francisco?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. You know, it's a good day for him, and yeah, I don't know how to respond to that question. I have no idea.
So, breaking news: the National Football League, Brock Purdy, about an hour ago, as we're coming on the air, and we're going to catch up with Greg Papa, the play-by-play voice of the 49ers, talking about timing. He's going to join us here in about 15, 16 minutes or so. Breaking news: Brock Purdy getting paid. Last time I checked, Brock's 5-year, $265 million guarantee, not guarantee, but contract is what he's getting.
Yeah, that's what he's getting. And you know, it's well deserved. $265 million, $185 million guaranteed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else we could say. We talked about it like the last segment, the last couple of shows or stuff. So I don't know how much more I have to say, but I'll turn it to you because you obviously
Jack, you got to remember now
impact about this.
You got to remember, folks are just tuning in. It's a different group every hour. So Radio 101, you just never know who's tuning in. So give us one more time. Give us the update real quick. Well, I'm sure we'll be breaking it all down in reference to Greg Papa joining us here in about 15 minutes. Also joining us, James Jones, former Oakland Raiders, Green Bay Packer, wide receiver now at FS1. We'll get his thoughts on when Brock Purdy, who played at Perry High School. James lives here in the Valley now. Is also coaching at Chandler High School. I want to get his thoughts in reference. So everybody's talking about the schedule, and we're going to get to the winners and losers here in a second. But I want to get his thoughts in reference to how much you put into that and some of the things that Cardinals are doing or not doing on the offense. I think one of those is not having a home run hitting, I would say, a wide receiver, how much that affects it. And maybe a little check-in with his good buddy, Aaron Rodgers, to see if he's got any news on Aaron Rodgers, where Aaron might be leaning or where he's at right now. My thoughts are, quite frankly, that if Aaron does play again, then he might be leaning toward, I would say, the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Minnesota Vikings. But just real quick before we get into the winners and losers here, Jack, the Brock Purdy contract.
Yeah, but to your point about James Jones, I think it's got to be the NFL setting up for the Steelers because they have some games, whether that's the Steelers' schedule, ironically, hypothetically, I don't know how they made this work with this year, but the Steelers are going to be playing the Jets, so that's a revenge game, and they're going to be playing the Packers, and they're also going to be playing the Vikings. So all three of those opponents that Aaron Rodgers will be playing for. It's a matter of time. Yeah, I'm interested to see if he has any type of answer there.
How coincidental is that?
Yeah, just super coincidental. And then for James Jones to be at the draft for Green Bay, and the fact that they drafted a wide receiver since 2002 in Matthew Golden, I'm interested to see his thoughts on the selection and how he'll fit in, because I think he's one of the best receivers in this class. But to your point about Brock Purdy, $181 million guaranteed, including $165 in his first 3 years of the deal that runs through 2030. So the dude got paid.
He sure did. So everybody's been talking about the winners and losers. We mentioned our State for a Roofing Insurance Call question of the day as far as the NFC West is concerned. Again, you can go to @Roc and Manuch on Twitter and vote for our State for a Roofing Insurance Call question of the day. Look at your schedules. Who do you feel has the best chance to win the NFC West? Is it the Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals? So you scour all the sites that are out there, and you go here and you go there, and you say whoever they are, all the pundits out there, they say the winners and losers in this year's scheduling. One of the winners, they say, is the Washington Commanders. Now, I think this is very interesting because you talk about coincidences that if Pittsburgh does get Aaron Rodgers, the teams that he will be playing, it says the Commanders have 8 standalone games in 2025, which is tied for the most in the league with the Dallas Cowboys and Chiefs. They also have the most standalone games since 2000 They just think a couple seasons ago, these guys were basically cellar dwellers at 4-13. So that's pretty good. You've got those 8 standalone games. Here's one of the losers, the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys. Even though they've got all these primetime games that are going on, they face a gauntlet of the likes that no NFL team has ever seen before. Now, from week 12 to week 17, the Cowboys will face the Eagles, Chiefs, Lions on the road, the Vikings, Chargers, and Commanders on the road. That's 6 straight teams that won 11-plus games last season. Now, moreover, within the run at 4 straight games against opponents who've won 14-plus games in 2024. Now, think about that, Jax. That's pretty much one of those things you go, wow. Now, entering 2025, no team has ever faced this scenario before in league history. So this puts quite the emphasis on Dallas to start strong out of the gate, make hay while they can, like the Cardinals, because the road is going to be a tough road to hoe.
Yeah, and they're the primetime team, America's team. It's going to be interesting to see with Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach there, the acquired new wide receiver with Pickens. They didn't address areas that we thought they were going to in the offseason, and they're now, when you look back at that division, with what the Giants did on the defensive line, what the Eagles have on the defensive line, what the Commanders have on the defensive line, and it seems like the Cowboys, that with losing Zach Martin in the offseason, they're going to have some offensive line issues. In a division where you step back and it's starting to get more loaded, and just the NFC as a whole. We talked yesterday about how many games do the Cardinals have to win to make the playoffs. It's looking more like 11 wins to make the wild card, with how talented the NFC North is and how talented the NFC East and the NFC West. The division's most important, even for the Cowboys as well, to try to win that too. But if you want to get a wild card, it's looking like 10, 11 games you have to win in order to secure a spot there.
One of the other winners that they talked about is the 49ers, based on their opponents' combined over-under win total for upcoming season. 49ers, as I said, has the 4th easiest schedule in the NFL. The Niners also score up against just 3 teams that made the playoffs in 2024, that being the Rams twice, Houston Texans, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Niners also have a well-situated bye week in Week 14. After that, 3 of their final 4 games on the season are at home, with their lone road game being in Indianapolis to face the Colts. I would say it's a very favorable schedule and a win from that standpoint. Loser, you'll be surprised, Eagle fans. Yep, the Eagles, the schedule makers didn't make the defending champs any favors for the 2025 schedule. At no point this season do the Eagles play back-to-back home games. Even after Week 8, when they host the Giants at their Week 9 bye, they're off on the road to Green Bay in Week 10. Now, this makes the Eagles the first ever defending Super Bowl champ to not play back-to-back home games in the following regular season, adding an unprecedented wrinkle to this year's title defense. I have never seen that before. You think they'd get a little favoritism?
The league's mad because they beat Mahomes. They're a prodigal child that they want to see a dynasty, a potential three-peat, nothing we've seen in the NFL. So how do they punish them with no back-to-back home games for the Eagles?
2 minutes.
But you don't feel too bad. They've got so many primetime games. The organizations ran great. I'm sure they don't mind not having back-to-back home games.
You know, the one thing that I cannot stand the Dallas Cowboys. So I love this 6 games at the very end. But I will say this, talk about must-see TV. If you're a Cowboy hater or Cowboy lover, you're going to take on, this is going to be primetime TV, basically. Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers, and Commanders. Now, out of those 6 teams, it's the Chargers I still feel are a little bit of an enigma going into the second year of Jim Harbaugh and his team to get that team over the hump. And I think of Justin Herbert. I think of their running game that they had. They had that running game early on, but they faded big time at the end of the year last year. But as far as must-watch TV, whether you hate the Cowboys or love the Cowboys, you still want to watch, right? Against those particular teams. So that's why I look at something like that, which is always very interesting. So if you want to see more about some of the winners and losers, just go to CBSSports.com. Just go to CBS Sports. Well, the 49ers are paying Brock Purdy. That's right. And they say, whoever they is, all the pundits out there, that the 49ers have one of the easiest schedules in the National Football League. Well, play-by-play voice Greg Papa joins us next on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620 and 98.7 HD2, live from Wright Toyota. Oh, I mean, think about that. Greg.
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations,
Oh, thank
brother.
you. Thank you so much. I just, you kind of pitch yourself, and Jack and I were sitting here talking about, breaking down this story. And if you were to take this script to Disney Studios before he was drafted, think about that, Greg. He's Mr. Relevant. He goes in his fourth stringer. He comes in, NFC Championship game his first year, Super Bowl second year, up and down year last year because of injuries. And here we go. He's got the exponential salary, 181 million guaranteed. Disney would probably kick Greg Pop out of the office saying this is too fictional for us to take.
I'm pitching it anyway. Well, I go back even before that to when you and Brock and the whole Purdy family got together, his dad Sean, and they empowered you to try to teach their son to play quarterback and all the work that he's done. So I remember Jackson when Brock played his first preseason game. I had Manuch on that Monday, and it was a preseason game. But the way he handled the end of game, he belies his years. Mr. Irrelevant is so ridiculous, and everything he's done. We were actually joking because he was the very last pick of the 2022 draft, number 262, that the Niners would give him a contract for $262 million this offseason. Now, I didn't know if it was going to be for 6 years and he'd make like 40 a year, if it'd be for 4 years and he'd get up in the Dak Prescott range, or if it'd be for what he got. He got 5 years. So he didn't get 262. He got 265, and a large sum of it is guaranteed. So you could not be happier for Brock and his family, his wife. Dan's known him forever, and the little bit that I've been around him, he's not going to change one iota as a person. He'll put this money away. He's not going to blow this money. He will save it and do good things with it for himself and mankind. So, Manuch, you should, you always talk about telling him to quit Cadillac, and I think he needs to send you an Escalade right now and pay you back a little bit for everything you've done for him. But sometimes you give a guy a contract like this, and there's a little risk involved that they're not going to show up, and that's not Brock. You know him, I know him. He's the Brock star. He's the Brock of Gibraltar because we call him Big Brain Brock. He's not only superbly skilled as a thrower and a runner and everything Manuch taught him, but he processes so well. So he's the perfect quarterback for Kyle Shanahan, and for Kyle to entrust this kind of money on this guy, it just tells you what kind of player he is. So obviously we're just thrilled knowing him so well, and he is so richly deserving of this deal.
So, Greg, big monkey off the backs of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan with this and Kittle. And outside of that, it seems like a bit of a quiet offseason for the 49ers. After they went in the draft and got Michael Williams. Kind of talk about what you envision this team now after them making some moves and keeping their core together long term. How do you think this Niners team will be this upcoming season?
Well, Jack, they lost 11 games last year. Let's not kid ourselves. And we lost every single team in the NFC West. The Niners ran this division for 4 or 5 years. And last year, starting with an early season collapse to the Rams and one to Arizona, and that sweltering hot day, we blew a big lead and kicker got hurt and then lost at the end. Could not stop the run to the very end, that game in Glendale. The Cardinals ran all over the Niners. So they had to gut their defense. They had to improve their run defense. They drafted Michael Williams. The first 5 picks in the draft were all on defense. That has not been done in this franchise's history since Bill Walsh. And that year they won the Super Bowl when he drafted Ronnie Lott and Eric Wright and Carter Williamson, and they were called Dwight Hicks and the Hot Licks. They were, a largely rookie secondary, 3 of the 4, and they won the Super Bowl. So they had to improve defensively, and they think they've done that. They traded Debo offseason, not a big surprise. They've added some other pieces, but we'll see where it goes. This division's really good. I mean, the Rams had 1 year where they had to reset, and they're kind of the Niners model for this offseason, what the Rams did after the Super Bowl and the 5-12 year after that, and also what Buffalo did. Buffalo gutted their entire secondary and wound up going to the championship game again last year. But Seattle is good. You guys are 8-9. I think you're going to be one of the stronger teams in the division without question. The whole culture has changed there. So But I think the Niners are on the right path, Jax. I would not be surprised if the Niners went from 11 losses to 11 wins next year. The schedule, and I don't like to play, hardest schedule, easiest schedule. It always changes year to year. But I'm not sure the Niners have a schedule that'll see a lot of the teams that had down years last year jump up dramatically. Now, the other teams in the division are playing the same divisions we are, so it's not that different, but having that last place schedule will help. So I think as long as they get back to health, I mean, the big reason why they struggled last year, Christian McCaffrey hardly played, Brandon Ayuk held out, and Deebo Samuel wasn't very effective. Deebo's gone. They've got your guy, Ricky Pearsall from Arizona down there as well. And so I think it's going to be a bounce back year for the Niners. And you tell me, who's going to win this NFC West this year? We go around the table, we could pick 3 different teams. And then I could add a 4th one as well. I mean, the NFC West is loaded. So it's like the old days. You just got to win your division first to get in the playoffs.
He's Greg Papa, 49ers play-by-play voice, and also the co-host of Papa and Silver every morning on KNBR Radio, and also fine Buffalonian that he is, joining us here on the right.
Buffalo!
Let's dive into that. You guys are getting all the accolades. Let me just read the you talked about the easiest schedule. Here's how it is on all these sites out there. The San Francisco 49ers have the easiest NFL schedule for 2025 based on their opponent's 2024 win percentage. The 49ers 2025 schedule features a combined opponent win percentage of 0.415. They so eloquently, basically, it seems like are handing you the NFC West title right there.
Well, but I mean, look, what is the strength of schedule the Arizona Cardinals are playing against? Or we're playing the same
11th.
division.
I think they're 11th. They're 11th.
Yeah, but I mean, what the major difference is, we're playing the last place schedule, and
yes.
You guys are playing the third place schedule. Seattle's playing the second place schedule, and the Rams are playing the first place schedule. But I mean, just look around. We have a home game against Jacksonville. Getting the quarterback back and obviously getting Travis Hunter is going to improve them. We got Atlanta on the schedule this year, the Giants on the schedule, Carolina, Cleveland, Colts, Chicago, Tennessee. I mean, the one thing, I never look at the strength of schedule from the year before because it invariably flips. That's the NFL. But the point I'm making is that a lot of these teams that are on our schedule, how much better is Carolina going to be this year? How much better is Jacksonville could make a jump if the quarterback is healthy and Travis Hunter's all that. But it is what it is. You're still got to go. We had terrible schedules and still won the NFC West the last couple of years. So, and obviously not last year, but I think they're comparable schedules. There's some adjustments based on the strength of schedule and where you finished last year. But I think what's going to come down to? Those 6 division games. The 2 against you guys, the 2 against the Rams, the 2 against Seattle. The Niners ran this they didn't win a single game. They could not beat the NFC West last year, and they had terrible losses to them. Every one was a heartbreaker. We lost all 3 at home in the NFC West. So if you want to win the West, you got to beat the teams in the West. So the other teams, we'll see how it all flushes out. But I think the middle ground is going to be how we cannibalize each other those 6 games.
Greg, selfishly, I got to ask you this question. I know you have a bunch of different slogans for touchdowns with certain players on your team, whether that's Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy or so on. Your 7th round pick, Junior Bergen out of Montana. I got a pleasure to know this guy for 4 years, follow his career at Montana, and then see him now get that opportunity with you guys. I'm just preparing you right now. Get that slogan ready for Junior Bergen when he returns a touchdown for you guys on kickoff return or punt return.
It's going to be a punt, right? The guy killed the all-time record for punt return touchdown. So since you know him so well, give me the slogan. What do I do? What's the call got to be on Jurgens?
You're more creative than I am. I think it's got to be something junior related.
I got to figure it out. I got to figure it out here. I'll come up with something. But he's the guy. They didn't draft him at all to be a wide receiver. They drafted him strictly to be a punt returner. And we have a whole new coaching staff on special teams. Brant Boyer, Colt Anderson, his assistant. They all know the guy from college. So they really are laying it out there that he's the guy. So there's no question. The Niners have gone so long without a punt return touchdown. It has been like decades. They have the tied for the longest drought for returning a touchdown for returning a punt for a touchdown. So I think the first part of the call would be, hallelujah! I finally have done it. Then beyond that, we'll get your guy Junior in there somehow.
Sweet. I appreciate
that's
it,
great.
Greg.
That's Greg Papa. He is the play-by-play voice for your 49ers, also the co-host of the morning show, Papa and Silver, every morning on KNBR Radio. Well, please do me a favor. When you see Brock, give him a great big hug for me. We're proud of him. He's come a long, long way. And, as I always say, no slack in the Cadillac. But I'm at Wright Toyota today, so you can give me one of those fine Toyota Tundras. He gets his offensive lineman.
Well, Brock has, what do you want, a Sequoia? He'll send you anything you want. I mean, he's got them all lined up there. So he just sent you like a whole fleet, Manuch, on what you did. So I think of you all the time. And obviously, his dad, his mom, and his family. And but you raised him right. And he's such a great guy. And so it's happy hour here in the Bay Area. I just got done with my show. It is time to go out and have a Brock-tini, I think, today. Celebrate.
I love it. Hey, Greg, always a pleasure. We will be talking to you soon. But great.
Thank
and
you.
Have a beef on Wick on me on top of that.
Anderson.
Cool. Good deal.
Send him from Buffalo to I love Anderson's there. Jack, good talking to you, brother. And I got to come up with a touchdown call for your guy. I will
I'm
come
excited
up
to
with
hear it.
I'm going to drop it on you before to make sure you approve.
Okay, sounds good, Greg. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
There he goes. You bet, Greg Papa, at Greg_Papa, P-A-P-A-A. And also you can tune him in every morning on KNBR Radio, Papa and Silver. He's a little fired up, as we all are. And I think the thing that's just so exciting, you feel so good for Brock because he's such a fine young man from a fine family, everybody involved. So, again, congratulations to Brock Purdy, and we'll get into more of that as he signs a $265 million 5-year extension. And we'll break all that down. But coming up, you're listening to Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620 and at 98.7 FM and HD2 live from Wright Toyota.
It's now time for your Rock News with Jimmy B's Wright Toyota ESPN 620 update. I'm Jackson Groff. The Arizona Cardinals 2025 schedule is out. They open the season on the road at New Orleans Saints, followed by a home opener against the Carolina Panthers September 14th. Tonight on the Diamond at Chase Field, Corbin Burns takes the mount for Arizona up against the Colorado Rockies. First pitch, 6:40 p.m. And now it's time for your Vans Golf Shop's PGA leaderboard update as well. PGA Championship, that being of. Leading the pack at Quail Hollow, Jonathan Vegas at 8 under, followed by Pavone Fitzpatrick at 6 under, Max Homa
20
at 5 under, and here comes Scotty Scheffler tied for 5 under as well. Some of the other top contenders, Rory McIlroy, 1 under finished today in DeChambeau, being at 3 under. Vans Golf Shops, more than a golf shop, it's a golf experience. And for Wright Toyota, they're right on the corner, right on the price. Wright Toyota in Scottsdale.
on far side. Touchdown, Philadelphia. They're destroying the Chiefs. A 12-yard touchdown run. They cash in on the Mahomes interception. They've done it twice. Now 23-0 Eagles before halftime as they had steamrolled the defending champions in the first half.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts touchdown pass. They destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs. Just seems so long ago, but it's right on top of us again. NFL schedules are being named, as we say. They're out there. And a guy that we always love having on that can break it down anywhere in the National Football League. He's a former Packer, former Raider receiver, and now co-host of the famous facility on FS1, that being James Jones, and also a fine Chandler resident. James Jones now joining us on the right Toyota guest line. James, it's Manuch alongside former Montana receiver Jax. How are we doing this afternoon?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Well, we're doing good. We're just we're talking about Brock Purdy getting paid to the tune of about $53 million, as that broke about an hour ago in reference to 5-year, $265 million extension, James. And if we would have just turned the clock back about a week before the 2022 draft and threw this story out there that this would happen fast forward, do you think Disney would turn that script down, or they would just say it's just too much, nobody ever believe it?
I mean, like I've been saying this whole time, if I'm Brock Purdy, there's no way that I'm walking out of there with less than $50 million. There just ain't no way. If I'm Brock Purdy agent, I hear what everybody's saying. Oh, well, he's a game manager. He's not a franchise quarterback. He might be making, more than these quarterbacks that are good. No, nobody care about that. It is my turn. I am next, and I'm going to get what I am supposed to get. So $53 million, I thought that was phenomenal for Brock Purdy. Happy for him. And now, my brother, it's time to put up or shut up.
Yeah, it looks like everybody offensively, James, with that team is coming back. What do they say? The fourth easiest schedule in the National Football League. But my concern, and you and I, we talk about this, is that defense sound enough, even though they got their old defensive coordinator back, to be able to stop people. And the Niners will get caught up in a free-for-all where defense pretty much lets them down.
I don't know if that defense, to be honest with you, even with Robert Saleh being the coach, I don't know if that defense has the talent to shut people down like that anymore. I forget, man, we are forgetting the talent the Niners used to have on those defenses. All pro safeties, Pro Bowl linebackers, linebacker after linebacker after linebacker, Pro Bowl corners. All that is gone. You lose Greenlaw. You lose Ufunga. You lose your other pass rusher on the other side of Bosa. Like, where is the playmaking going to come from? You got Fred Warner and you have Nick Bosa. Where's the playmaking going to come from? So I think the Niners are at a lack of talent right now, and that's usually never said about the San Francisco 49ers team under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. So I think this year will be a good year for them. And I think next year will be kind of more of a year that they attack free agency and they do that certain stuff. And guys like Brett might be on his second year off of an ACL, and they should be fine. But this year, I don't expect too much from the Niners.
James, a little two-part question for you. Your former quarterback announced retirement last week, Derek Carr. Talk about, what do you think the NFL and people should remember him as for what he did in the NFL? And then what type of player was he in the huddle? Is he kind of like a fiery guy? Was he a leader? Kind of talk about, bring us back and reminisce on your guys' time together on the Raiders.
Man, my dog DC, man, congratulations, man. Well-deserved. Fellas, he was a little bit of both, man. For the most part, he was cool and calm, but he was never afraid to speak up and be that leader and be that dude when that time was necessary, game on the line or anything like that. But the one thing I remember about Derek Carr, man, is how fast he got that ball out of his hands, man. He is one of the best quarterbacks that understand the defense and the ball is out. And when I first seen him and I met him at Fresno State, I looked at my coach and I said, "Who is Buddy?" I said, "My man." He said, "Yeah, he gonna be good." And then I seen him at the Raiders, and we had traded for Matt Schaub, and drafted young Derek Carr in the second round. And every meeting, the coach came in there and he said, Dennis Allen came in there and he said, Matt Schaub is our starter. There is no debates. We like, cool, coach. The young fella go out there at training camp and he, throwing the ball all over the yard. The coach comes there the next meeting, Matt Schaub is our starter. We like, cool, coach. The young fella go out there and he, and we like, all right now, coach. And then he came out in preseason and he lit it up, man. But he was just special at getting the ball out of his hands. The next thing you know, he's a starting for the Raiders, and he's breaking all the Raiders records they ever had. Just a special dude, special player. That's what I remember him as.
Well, and speaking of the Raiders and talking about guys retiring, he was a Saint, and now a young man I worked with since 8th grade, that being Tyler Shuck. He and Spencer Rattler, formerly of Pinnacle High School, Tyler Shuck of Chandler Hamilton High School. Looks like the competition began with Tyler, the second-round pick, and Spencer and Hayner all being there. How do you suppose that Kellen Moore evaluates who's going to start out of those young guys for this National Football League team in the Saints?
Also, now that I know Tyler's an Arizona boy, now I got to start rooting for him a little bit more and talking good about him.
Yes.
A little bit more. Fellas, this is very, very simple. Whoever plays the best in the preseason will be our starting quarterback. It is a true competition. You guys will get the equal amount of reps in the preseason, and whoever plays the best will start the regular season. Point blank period, no questions asked. So when you go out there, leave no doubt at who the best one out here in training camp is. That's the starter. None of these dudes are proven. None of these dudes are super high draft picks. So it's all about the ability to go out there and play, and whoever plays the best consistently will earn this job.
James, what was it like being out in Green Bay for the NFL draft? And what a moment that they haven't drafted a receiver in the first round since 2002, and they grabbed Matthew Golden. Talk about your experience there and what you thought about Matthew Golden being a selection for the Packers.
It was unbelievable, man. The Packers fans showed out. The city of Green Bay, man, they put on a great draft, man. I mean, from top to bottom, man, it was classy. It was big time, man. And they deserve that, man. They're such a great fan base, great city, great town. So they
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Fun to be back there to ride out there up on the bikes. You rode the bikes for 8-9 years in Green Bay with my rider Mason, and to ride out there on stage with my former teammates and Lil Wayne. It was something else. And then on top of that, man, to hear them call my man Bolden's name in the first round, and I know the fans have been, begging for a wide receiver in the first round, and it finally happened. It was a moment, Mark Murphy doing that. But to be honest with y'all, fellas, he got a lot of pressure on him. He got a lot of pressure on him. You cannot have James Jones in the third round, who had a really good career. You cannot have Donald Driver in the 7th round, who had a Hall of Fame career. You cannot have Greg Jennings in the 2nd round, who had a Hall of Fame career. You cannot have Jordy Nelson in the 2nd round, who had a Hall of Fame career. You cannot have Randall Cobb in the 2nd round, who had a Hall of Fame career. You cannot have Devontae Adams in the 2nd round, who had a Hall of Fame career. And you be the first rounder we've been yelling for, and you don't be that guy. So he's going to have some pressure to turn out and be that dude.
Hey, I'd be remiss if you didn't talk about potential Hall of Famers. From what you know with Aaron Rodgers, I think a lot of folks are waiting for bated breath to see whether he goes to Pittsburgh or plays at all. From what you know and talking with Aaron, which way is he leaning? What's the kind of latest and greatest with your buddy Aaron Rodgers?
I truly believe deep down in my heart that my man Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not shown a sparkle of sweat. And the quarterback room they have right now means they look like they ain't going to win 2 games. And they have not showed a sparkle of sweat. They didn't draft nobody. So that let me know that my guy Aaron Rodgers will not be retired. He will be playing football for the
break.
It's a matter of time of when he's going to sign. I think he's going to sign a couple weeks before training camp.
James, always great to have you on the show. Always appreciate you can track him always down. And Look at all those great things that are going on with all the things that are one James Jones at 89 Jones NTAF. That's at 89 Jones NTAF. Appreciate it, my brother. Always, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Anytime, fellas.
James, that's James Jones joining us here on the Right Toyota Guest Line. James is courtesy of Right Toyota. The right price, the right place, and always the right dealership. Located in Scottsdale on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard, Right Toyota has the right deal for everyone. And right now, check them out for their full inventory of pre-owned certified vehicles under $15,000, or just go online at righttoyota.com. That's righttoyota.com. Well, what's on tap tonight? Celtics and Knicks in a winner go-home game in Game 6 at the Garden. Panthers look at the shut the door on Toronto time. The Subway Series gets rolling in the Bronx. And the D-backs host the Rockies at Chase at 6:40. Crack open a cold Dos Equis and keep it locked right here on Roc and Manuch, Jimmy B, right here on ESPN 620.
In 1900, Lerner and Rowe voted Arizona's best law firm.
But was a star here tonight. We've got a Game 7 in the West. Sunday afternoon on ABC in Oklahoma City.
That is our Lerner Rowe one call. That's all. Interreg need to check. Make one call. That's all. 602-977-1900. And always online at lernerandrowe.com for free consultation. They can help. Again, one call. That's all. 602-977-1900. There it was, Jackson Nuggets, ending of Game 6, thanks to ESPN and Dave Pasher. As they get ready, then they're going to basically take it one more time, another Game 7. That'll be on 12:30 on ABC as the Nuggets go back to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch them at OKC. I mean, OKC is 7.5-point favorite in this game already. We've seen the Nuggets in crucial games win on the road with Aaron Gordon's buzzer beater he had against the Clippers. And, they've had the resiliency here. It's just a back-and-forth battle where, you look back on the series. The Nuggets won Game 1 at the Thunder. Since then, they have not been able to win a game over there in OKC. So I guess we'll see, who can get that one in Game 7. A lot of pressure tonight with the New York Knicks trying to get things and prevent a Game 7 going back to Boston. This is what you want to see in sports. Nothing better than Game 7.
What's on tap presented by Roc and Manuch Amber by Dos Equis. Here's what's on tap tonight. Grab a cold Dos Equis and lock in. Speaking of those playoffs, as you mentioned, the Celtics at the Knicks, that'll be at 5 o'clock. That'll be on ESPN. Now the Knicks lead this series 3-2 and aim to clinch a spot in that Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. Quite frankly, I hope Boston wins and they force another Game 7. Would that be great to see a Game 7 with this? As we're going to see at 12:30 on Sunday with OKC and Denver, and then one more with the Knicks and Boston. Hopefully it all pans out. NHL playoffs, the matchup, Toronto Maple Leafs are at the Florida Panthers tonight. That game's also at 5 o'clock. That game is going to be on TNT. Now, the Panthers lead the series 3-2 and look to close that at home after a dominant Game 5 performance. It's basically, when you look at some of these things, what they're going to have to do, but I look at all this as a chance for the Maple Leafs to close it out. Major League Baseball, you got the Mets and the Yankees, the Subway Series. That'll get going here in about 15 minutes. That's going to be at 4:05. That'll be on Major League Baseball Network and the Yes Network. The Subway Series kicks off with Juan Soto facing his former team. And also just go to cbnsports.com and watch it there. Another good baseball game tonight as well, too. The Astros are at the Texas Rangers. That'll be at 5:05 our time. That'll be at Apple TV+. Basically a Lone Star showdown. Little rivalries going on ESPN.com and 7 Sports Media. And last but not least, the Colorado Rockies are taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. That game at 6:40 tonight on TV. That's Major League Baseball.tv. And also here locally, Channel 34 on Cox. And also on the radio side, all you have to do is go to 98.7 in HD2 and tune it in right here on our sister station. All right, let's go to our State 48 Roofing It's Your Call question of the day. All you have to do is just go to @Roc and Manuch on Twitter and vote for a free quote, repair, installation. Head to state48roofing.com and follow them on social media by searching #SexyRoofStatus. Here's the question. Looking at this year's schedule, who do you feel has the best chance to win the NFC West? The NFC West, is it the Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, or the Cardinals? Again, just go to @Roc and Manuch on Twitter. Jax, which way is everybody leaning on this bad boy?
The public, because we're in an Arizona sports market, 100% Cardinals. Let's go. NFC West champs. The Cardinals of Arizona is your winner for this poll question.
Not that we have any kind of a biased city one way or the other. Nobody got any other votes?
No one got any other votes. 100% Cardinals.
I went with the San Francisco 49ers.
I went with the Rams.
You go the Rams?
I went with the Rams.
Yeah.
Because of Sean McVay and what they continue to do, it seems like with the little they have, they still supply young rookie talent from the rookie class, and then getting also Devontae Adams. I like the Rams. I think
you
the
know
Rams
what?
are going to be sneaky.
I like that choice. And again, we just had James Jones on, former Packer and Las Vegas Raider, in talking about the San Francisco 49ers, about the contract. Brock Purdy signing a 5-year extension for $265 million, to the tune of about $53 million. Their offense is set. But I think the one thing you brought out, and I think we're all hesitant about the 49ers, is that defense. To lose so many talented individuals, so many all-pro individuals. And as we know, defense win championships. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles last year. The 3 out of 5 Super Bowls by the Chiefs, their defense stood up. That's the only thing, Jax, I'm hesitant. But I marked the Niners. Maybe they got enough. with their offensive coordinator, their former defensive coordinator coming back, maybe get him back to prominence, but you can't do it without players.
Yeah, and I think Greg Papa made a good point. Even with an easy schedule, you still have to win your division games. And the 49ers last year did not fare well in the division. They lost that crucial one with that late interception that Kaiser White had against the Cardinals. So I get that everyone out there, the 49ers have the easiest schedule, but at the end of the day, it's the NFL. You can lose on any kind of day. I think the biggest mystery, though, that a lot of people have is going to be the Seahawks, because them getting Sam Darnold, basically a one-year deal, them losing DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in the same year. How will Cooper Kupp look? Because towards the end of that season last year for the Rams, he kind of fell from a wide receiver 1 to a really wide receiver 3 or 4 in that offense. Just could not stay healthy. And you wonder what his role will be for the Seattle Seahawks there. But I think it's a fun division. I really do. I think the NFC as a whole just got a lot more loaded. And now you look at the AFC, they've got better quarterbacks in the NFC, but I think NFC in terms of a team and a roster standpoint, I think the NFC is starting to get deeper.
You think this Arizona Cardinals team, I've been bemoaning the fact that there's no home run hitter as far as a receiver. I think that they'll have a solid offense. I just feel they're missing that one piece, that one link, if you will, in reference to having a home run hitter, a guy that can take the top off. Otherwise, I like the defense for this Cardinals team. I like the rotations that they can have. That Nick Rawls, the defensive coordinator, can have with this defense and what he can do with them. My only suspect with the offense is if Kyler Murray goes down, I think they'll be okay with Jacoby Brissett at the backup. If any of the receivers go down, who steps up is going to be suspect to that point. Trey McBride can't go down. James Conner cannot go down. If you're going to give yourself a chance to hang with the Joneses, to hang with the Rams, to hang with the 49ers. But I just think that the Seattle Seahawks, even with Sam Darnold, might be that surprise in the NFC West. I look at their schedule because they always seem, with what they did last year and how well they played at times with Geno Smith as their quarterback, really surprised a lot of folks. But from the standpoint of the Cardinals, I just think there's still a lot of work to be done. But it's going to be, talk about one of the most, I would say, parity-driven divisions in the entire National Football League. But I'll also throw one at you. How about the NFC East? All right, you got the Eagles. Giants will be down. Commanders will be right there. But can the Dallas Cowboys get back in the hunt?
No.
With Dak Prescott?
No.
Back in the fold?
No. Definitely not. No, I don't think so. I think the Cowboys, again, we always talk about them, and they're on the screens. They're America's team, a lot of primetime games. It's a disaster over there in Dallas. So I don't see them getting close to second place, even first place in that division.
You know, and I agree with you. A lot of Cowboy fans are hoping. But I look at this. I think the Giants will be improved. How markedly improved? I think Daniel Jones will be their starting quarterback when you think about it.
1 minute.
Not Darren Jones.
1 minute.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. Yeah, Russell Wilson will be their starting quarterback. Now, everybody's talking about Dart. They all look good and without pads on. So when you got a couple of guys in reference to making things happen with Russell Wilson as your guy that's going to be pretty much starting from that standpoint. And then if you could have a young guy come in there in Dart and be that, I don't know, guy laying in wait. But I still think that they've got sort
30
of,
seconds.
I think this will go down in reference to one of those teams that you'll see the Eagles and the Redskins for it coming down. Hey, I want to thank all the folks out here at Wright Toyota. We want to thank all of you for tuning in. We know you have choices. We truly appreciate you tuning in.